Chapter 422. Phew. A white-robed man descended from the sky, his clothes fluttering in the wind. Behind him, the Thunder Retribution Lord and six-eared macaque stood on both sides, just like two guards. The man was handsome, and his body emitted a faint radiance. His every movement was extremely natural, and it was extremely comfortable to watch. It was Sun Hao. Zhang Tianming and the others looked at Sun Hao and stood there stupidly, not calming down for a long time. Young Master is here. My old ancestor. I didn't expect that Thunder Tribulation Dominator and Six-Ear Macaque were just the young Master's guards. Am I dreaming? What kind of existence is young Master? Cries of alarm came one after another. The red-haired monster looked at Sun Hao motionlessly. Immortal? That's not possible. Could it be that I can't see through it? The red-haired monster muttered to himself. His eyes were filled with fear. Humph. Try to act mysterious. Die. The red-haired monster snorted coldly, stepped forward, and rushed towards Sun Hao. Sun Hao's eyes widened and swept his gaze on the red-haired monster. Instantly, time stopped and space froze. The red-furred monster's body was frozen in place, unable to move. It was as if he had been turned into an ice sculpture. His two blood-red eyes kept rolling around in panic. This is impossible. Who are you? Just as he finished speaking. Phew! The red-haired monster's body flew backwards uncontrollably. As it flew, its body rapidly shrank. Within a moment, he became the size of a thumb and fell into Sun Hao's hand. Let go of me. The red-furred monster struggled frantically. However, it was useless. All of its power had been sealed, and it had completely lost contact with its consciousness. When Zhang Tianming saw this, he felt as if his heart had been struck by raging waves. For a moment, he could not calm down. Everything that had happened today was simply unimaginable. Such a terrifying red-haired monster was actually caught by the young master with one hand. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Also, the Thunder Calamity Dominator and Six-Eared Macaque were Child's guards. He had never seen or heard of such a thing before. Young Master, thank you. I didn't expect that you would come to save us. Zhang Tianming stood on the spot, muttering to himself, excitement written all over his face. He looked at Sun Hao, and the light of worship kept sweeping away. Tell me, who is the master behind you? Sun Hao held the red-haired monster and said coldly. He. The corner of the red-haired monster's mouth curled up. The name of the Lord is not something you can know. Hurry up and let me go. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. The red-furred monster roared. Die a horrible death? Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth, and his cold, killing intent was not concealed. He blew lightly. An invisible force instantly enveloped the red-furred monster's claws. Bang! There was an explosion. The red-furred monster's two claws were instantly pulverized. A surge of energy rampaged through the red-haired monster's body, attacking its mind. Squeak! Shrill screams shook the heavens. The red-furred monster let out a blood-curdling scream as its body trembled violently. A deathly crisis enveloped his entire body. Fear was written all over his face. Master, save me. The voice traveled underground. After this sound, let him go. A soft shout came from underground. Immediately after, in front of Sun Hao, layers of ripple shook, and a woman stood in front of Sun Hao. The woman was dressed in a red robe with a pendant hanging around her neck. Blazing red lips and seductive figure looked extremely seductive. There were no fluctuations of power in the woman in red robe. It seemed that, like Sun Hao, she was just a mortal. After the woman appeared, behind Zhang Tianming, a group of bald men suddenly widened their eyes, revealing a surprised expression. What? It's her. What her? She is Feng Xiao, the #1 genius of the Feng family in the northern region. How is this possible? Didn't they say that she had died in the absolute beginning mind? Why is she still alive? Everyone looked at the woman in red robe with astonishment. In the beginning, when the Feng family dug up the 5-spirit immortal iron, the Chai family learned of the news and led a team to come. As a last resort, the Fong family took them into the mine, but they were all wiped out and never came out. This Fong Xiao was one of them. Logically speaking, under the evil plot of the demon race, Fong Xiao could not survive. Unexpectedly, she was still alive. Moreover, there was no power in her body. It seemed that, like the young master, she was just a mortal. She appeared in front of the young master in one step. This kind of strength could never be immortal. Could it be that she was also a god like the young master? Thinking about it, many people's scalps exploded and sweat rolled down their foreheads. They looked at Fong Xiao with a face full of fear. "Are you a taboo existence?" Sun Hao asked. "Let him go." Fong Xiao did not answer Sun Hao, but just repeated what she said before. "What if I don't let him go?" Sun Hao said. "Then you will become my puppet." Fong Xiao said. "Really?" Sun Hao smiled coldly and clenched his hands unhurriedly. "No, you dare." Boom! 3 sounds rang out at the same time. The red-haired monster in Sun Hao's hand directly burst into powder and disappeared. The corner of Fong Xiao's mouth twitched slightly. Her eyes were blood red, and her killing intent soared from her body, shrouding the world. "Buzz!" She stretched out her finger and pointed forward. Immediately, Buzz, Sun Hao, and the other 2 flew out uncontrollably and fell heavily to the ground. Boom! The world trembled, and dust soared into the sky. A shock wave whistled in all directions with the momentum of toppling mountains and overturning seas. Wherever it went, the mountain range shattered inch by inch. When the sound stopped, a huge pit with a radius of 100 miles appeared in front of everyone. In the huge pit, Sun Hao and the other 2 fell inside, motionless. Seeing this scene, Zhang Tianming and the others' scalp exploded, and their hearts sank. "Not good. The young master is injured." "What? Even the young master is not an opponent? My God! Has the Dark Age begun? It's over, it's over." The voice of despair kept ringing. Zhang Tianming looked at this scene, and his expression changed. He watched Fong Xiao walk towards Sun Hao step by step, and he couldn't help but grit his silver teeth and roar, "If you're not afraid of death, charge with me." This sound rose. Who? Thousands of bald heads did not hesitate and rushed straight to Fong Xiao. Under the sunlight, the shiny bald heads emitted dazzling light. On everyone's face, there was a firm expression. Fong Xiao turned her head and glanced at them. Buzz, space seemed to freeze, and everyone's movement stopped abruptly. They seemed to be fixed in cement, unable to move. Is this the strength of the gods? My God, in front of the gods, we can't even struggle. No, don't touch the young master. Come at me if you have the ability. Fong Xiao, you bastard, kill me first if you have the guts. The roars kept ringing. These voices did not affect Fong Xiao at all. She kept walking and continued to walk towards Sun Hao. Soon, she stood in front of Sun Hao. Then, she stretched out her right hand and grabbed forward. Who? Sun Hao fell into Fong Xiao's hand like a dead fish. Chapter 423. No. Hurry up and let go of the young master. If you want to kill someone, kill me. Thunder Tribulation Sovereign fell to the ground and kept roaring. It's useless. She's a deity, and she controls the law of space. We don't stand a chance against her. Even if it's a young master, the odds are against him. 6 Ears Macaque said. What? Gods? The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign was full of disbelief. Despair gradually appeared on their faces. They looked at Fong Xiao, roaring and struggling, but to no avail. Sun Hao was controlled by Fong Xiao. His face was pale, and his breath was like gossamer. He looked like an old man who was about to die. After a long while, he opened his eyes and looked at Fong Xiao, his expression changing. You, who the hell are you? After this sound, Fong Xiao threw her head back and laughed wildly. Who am I? You can call me Fong Xiao, or you can call me Blood Spirit Evil Lord. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the Thunder Tribulation ruler and the others changed dramatically. Fear was written all over their faces. It seemed like they had indeed heard of the Blood Spirit Evil Lord before. What? She's the Blood Spirit Evil Lord, my God. Legend has it that the blood spirit evil lord is a general under the taboo existence. He has even reached the Emperor God realm. Why is he here? Everyone muttered to themselves, looking at Feng Xiao Xiao with despair on their faces. Feng Xiao Xiao, blood spirit evil lord? Sun Hao's breath was like a gossamer, and his face was puzzled. Feng Xiao Xiao raised the corner of her mouth and sneered. Godly cunning immortal, it seems that you don't remember at all. Since that's the case, I'll let you die knowing. That's right, you've never seen me before. Back then, I didn't hear your song. I regret it so much. Now it seems that I was right. If I had heard your song, I definitely wouldn't have had this kind of good fortune. He definitely won't devour venerable blood spirit evil lord's soul and assimilate his memories. It's even more impossible to restrain you and make you a deity. I am now a deity. I can control the laws of heaven and earth. Fighting with me is the same as fighting against the heavens. You never thought that you would have such a day. And all of you, today, you will all become my power. Having said that, Feng Xiao Xiao laughed again. Ha! His voice lingered for a long time, lingering between heaven and earth. That kind of arrogance and complacency was hard to describe with words. When everyone heard this, their hearts sank to hell, and their faces were filled with despair. Suddenly, a peal of laughter sounded. Hearing this, Feng Xiao Xiao's chest stagnated, and her face showed surprise. Looking up, he didn't know when Sun Hao was already standing in front of him. His calm demeanor made him seem like a god king who controlled everything. He even looked a little weak. How is this possible? Feng Xiao Xiao looked at Sun Hao with a stunned expression. In the next second, her face was filled with shock and panic. Bang! There was an explosion. The power of the law of space that enveloped everyone completely collapsed. Everyone regained their freedom. You? Feng Xiao Xiao pointed at Sun Hao. Her pupils contracted, and her face changed drastically. Buzz! Sun Hao took a step and appeared in front of Feng Xiao Xiao. The palm looked slow, but it was actually extremely fast. Bang! She slapped Feng Xiao Xiao in the face. A crisp voice resounded in all directions. This slap gave Feng Xiao Xiao a splitting headache. Bang! Her body, like a kite with a broken string, fell straight down and fell heavily to the ground, exploding into dust. The terrifying shock wave, with the momentum of destroying heaven and earth, spread in all directions. However, the shock wave was blocked by a layer of transparent shield, unable to hit the outside world. God? Just like that. Sun Hao stood in the sky with a calm face. He showed weakness just now, just to let her reveal her true face and get some information. It seemed that it was still successful. However, he didn't expect that the gods were so vulnerable in front of him. He could actually defeat a god so easily. He didn't know which divine spirit realm she had reached. Feng Xiao Xiao struggled for a long time before standing up. She looked at Sun Hao, covering her swollen right face, opened her mouth, and didn't say a word. It can be confirmed that there are no fluctuations of divine essence on him. How could he hurt me? Feng Xiao Xiao frowned and began to think. She stood in place, motionless like a wooden sculpture. Zhang Tianming and others looked at this scene, all opened their mouths wide, and murmured for a long time without saying a word. Heavens! The young master slapped the gods away with one slap? The young master was just showing weakness, just now? Young master, what kind of existence are you? Everyone looked at Sun Hao, and their faces were full of astonishment. The light of worship swept over in waves. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Feng Xiao Xiao, motionless. Hey, why doesn't she move? It looks like she's scared. The gods will have times of fear. The corners of everyone's mouth rose, and they were in a good mood. Suddenly, one escape? A soft shout resounded through the world. Everyone squinted their eyes, and their pupils shrank, and their faces changed drastically. They saw, in front of Sun Hao, layers of ripples suddenly shook. A woman in a red robe walked out of the ripples. No, it should be said that she was pulled out by an invisible force. Who was this person if not Feng Xiao Xiao? What to Feng Xiao Xiao? No, the one on the ground should be just a clone. Ancestor, The god who controls the law of space can't even escape in front of the young master. The realm of the young master is not what we can imagine at all. The color of worship and piety was written on everyone's face. A kind of power that could not be detected by the naked. I surged from them and drilled into Sun Hao's body. Sensing this power, Sun Hao was shocked. He had seen this kind of power. Not long ago, his consciousness entered the statue of Zhongfu, Immortal City. At that time, there was a force pouring into his body from the statue. What kind of power is this? Is it the legendary power of faith? What conditions do I need to obtain this power? It doesn't seem to increase my strength much. Sun Hao thought secretly with a puzzled face. After a while, he put aside these thoughts and stared directly at Feng Xiaoxiao. At this moment, Feng Xiaoxiao stood in front of Sun Hao, showing a pitiful look. "Young master, I was wrong. Please spare my life. If you are willing, I am willing to serve you for a lifetime." The bewitching voice continued to ring out. When it reached people's ears, they had goosebumps all over their bodies. A feeling of numbness surged all over their body. The group of bald heads stared at Feng Xiaoxiao in a daze, and they lost their minds completely. Oomph! There was a soft shout. Bang! Feng Xiaoxiao's body flew backward. The charming technique she used disintegrated instantly. Feng Xiaoxiao's face was pale, looking at Sun Hao with a face full of astonishment. You are not a man. Say, why are you here? What is the purpose of arranging the blood-refining heavenly formation? What's in those coffins? What does the soul you devoured have to do with the existence of the taboo? Sun Hao looked at Feng Xiaoxiao and asked a bunch of questions. His cold face was filled with killing intent. As long as Feng Xiaoxiao answered wrongly, she would probably die on the spot immediately. Chapter 424. Ah! Feng Xiaoxiao threw her head back and laughed wildly. She looked at Sun Hao, revealing a resolute look. If you want to kill, then kill. Don't say more. If you destroy me, I can still be resurrected, because I am the blood spirit evil lord. Let me tell you, a taboo existence is not someone you can provoke. Having said that, Feng Xiaoxiao laughed again. That arrogant look was infuriating. In that case, die. These words were like a death sentence for Feng Xiaoxiao. Dead? You have no right to kill me. Only I can kill myself. Ha ha. Feng Xiaoxiao looked up to the sky and laughed. Burning her soul, she broke through Sun Hao's imprisonment and stepped onto the blood-refining heavenly array on the ground. Let's see how many gods you can deal with. Children, wake up. Feng Xiaoxiao shouted loudly. Her body expanded rapidly and exploded in an instant. Howl! The terrifying blood qi whistled through the air as it rapidly entered the remaining 6 ancient bronze coffins. Instantly, bang, bang, the ancient bronze coffin shook violently. The lid of the coffin exploded into pieces. One by one, the red-haired skeletons walked out of the bronze coffins. Blood qi gushed out of his body. In an instant, it enveloped the world, covering everything within a radius of 1,000 miles. Even from high up in the sky, he could feel the terror of that ruthless aura. Ka-ka! The sound of joints cracking could be heard from within the blood and qi. As these voices rang out, the red-haired skeleton's body rapidly grew larger. In the blink of an eye, they turned into 6 10,000-meter-tall skeletons. Each of the skeletons gave off a metallic luster, making them look indestructible. Buzz, the 6 skeletons stretched out their sky-covering bone claws at the same time, aimed at Sun Hao, and pressed them down. The power of 6 types of laws shrouded down. When the Thunder Tribulation Lord and 6-eared macaque saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. "Young master, be careful," the two shouted at the same time. However, how could he make in time? Buzz, the sky-covering bone claw, arrived in an instant. It blasted on Sun Hao's body, 5 inches above Sun Hao's head. At this point, the 6 claws could no longer move down. They saw, under the claw, it was Sun Hao who stretched out a finger. This finger looked very ordinary. However, there was an invisible force on his finger blocking the top of his head. When the 6 skeletons saw this scene, the soul flame in their eye sockets trembled unceasingly. How is this possible? He's immune to all 6 types of laws? Could he be the son of the heavenly Tao? Damn it, this is troublesome. Let's escape. After discussing for a while, the 6 red-haired skeletons came to a unanimous decision. Buzz, they each used their best moves and fled in 6 different directions. One turned into wind, one into rain, one into flowing light, one into flying snow. Their methods were all different. They were about to disappear into thin air. Sunhow smiled slightly. His laughter wasn't loud, but it was exceptionally frightening. At this moment, the 6 skeletons reverted back to their original forms and were fixed in the void. This is the end. He is at least a 2nd stage, low-level deity. We are doomed. Damn it. I've just been revived, and I've already encountered such an expert. How unlucky. Voices of despair rang out incessantly. They looked at Sun Hao, and their soul flames trembled. Senior, please spare my life. I'm willing to become your slave. One of the red-haired skeletons shouted. As soon as these words came out, the other skeletons froze in place, motionless. You don't want to live. We were created by the taboo existence. You can't recognize him as your master at all. Your soul will scatter like this, and the taboo existence will not resurrect you. A few exclamations came from the sky. Sun Hao listened to these, looked at the skeleton begging for mercy, and said, "Who is the taboo existence? Where is he?" Senior, I don't know. I only know that we were created by the taboo existence. They belong to trash generals and are not qualified to see the taboo existence at all. However, I know where he lives. Before the words fell. Boom! Some kind of power on the red-haired skeleton detonated, instantly blowing it to pieces. Before Sun Hao could react. Boom! Boom! 5 explosions sounded one after another. The other 5 red-haired skeletons also exploded and died tragically on the spot. Until death, the 6 red-haired skeletons did not make any sound. Looking at this scene, Sun Hao frowned slightly. He showed a thoughtful look. To be able to blow up 6 gods under his nose, the strength of this taboo existence was not simple. Why was he afraid that he knew where he lived? Could it be that this taboo existence was hiding somewhere and was recovering? When he recovered to his peak, he would find trouble with him. Just now, they said that I am the Son of Heaven. What does this mean? Is the taboo existence not the heavenly Tao, but someone else? The heavenly Tao and the taboo existence are 2 opposing existences. The strength is not weaker than the other party. Sun Hao muttered to himself, frowning. The relationship between the heavenly Tao and the taboo existence still needed to be further verified. Now, although he had the strength to kill gods, he could not be arrogant. He still needed to work hard to find a suitable cultivation method for himself. This was the most important thing at the moment. Thinking of this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. His eyes swept toward the earth as if he could see through the ground. Let them out first. Sun Hao stretched out his right hand and pointed toward the sky. 9 suns flew out of his fingertips and floated in the sky. Buzz, the 9 suns quickly merged. Soon it became a sun. Whoosh, the sun fell like rain. Wherever it went, the air was distorted and deformed. It simply could not stand this high temperature. After landing, the earth was gasified by the high temperature and directly evaporated and disappeared. Boom! The blood-refining heavenly array could not withstand this power at all and quickly collapsed. Boom! 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 The sound of explosions continued. The earth quickly evaporated, turned into nothingness, and disappeared. From a distance, it looked like countless earth-swallowing beasts were digging the earth. A moment later, the dazzling golden light came from the ground and went straight to the sky. A golden building with a height of 5,000 meters appeared in front of everyone. The building was shaped like an inverted claw, grasping the ground. It looked like a Buddha's hand. What is that? Everyone was full of doubts, staring blankly at the Buddha's hand with a look of consternation. At the moment when everyone was stunned, Buzz, the Buddha's hand trembled. A golden light whistled up forming a Buddha shadow standing in front of Sun Hao. The Buddha shadow was full of smiles and gave a Buddhist salute to Sun Hao. Fellow Taoist, we meet again. There is a peerless great demon suppressed below. Please be magnanimous and don't let it out. Otherwise, the heavenly realm will be in chaos, the world will fall into disorder, and the dark age will probably start ahead of time. The Buddha shadow looked at Sun Hao, showing a questioning look. The next second, the Buddha shadow's face changed drastically, shouting to the sky, "No." Chapter 425. Sun Hao looked at the Buddha figure, expressionless. What does the chaos in the heaven realm have to do with me? Sun Hao stretched out his right hand and pressed forward. Seeing Sun Hao's palm pressing down, the Buddha shadow's face changed dramatically, and he waved his hand again and again. Fellow Taoists, stop, stop. Listen to me first. However, buzz, the air trembled, and a transparent palm rapidly arrived, instantly bombarding the Buddha image. No! A shout resounded through the heavens and earth. Kacha! The Buddha image was crushed into nothingness by the palm strike and disappeared. The transparent hand continued to press down, landing on the six-eared macaque statue. Bang! The seal on the six-eared macaque statue instantly shattered. Phew! The six-eared macaque regained its freedom and flew up quickly. It stood in front of Sun Hao and bowed. "Thank you, young master." The body turned into a golden light and flew to the back of the six-eared macaque's head. It turned into a strand of monkey hair and attached itself to the back of his head. The six-eared macaque looked at Sun Hao with gratitude. "Break!" Sun Hao let out a soft shout, and the transparent palm, floating in the sky, continued to press down. Bang! The pentagonal black tower cracked and exploded into powder. Phew! The two souls flew up, stood directly in front of Sun Hao, and bowed. The two souls murmured to themselves, saying words of gratitude that couldn't be heard. After kneeling and kowtowing to Sun Hao 3 times, he stepped into the void and disappeared. Zhang Tianming and the others stared blankly at this scene. It was as if their chests had suffered a heavy blow, and they could not calm down for a long time. That kind of admiration, that kind of shock, that kind of disbelief. It was written all over everyone's face. After a long while, only then did they recover. Seeing Sun Hao's gaze sweeping over, everyone trembled. "Go!" Zhang Tianming shouted softly, leading everyone to move together and fly in front of Sun Hao. Facing Sun Hao, he knelt and saluted. "Greetings, young master." They spoke in unison. Reverence was written all over everyone's faces. Sun Hao looked at these people and nodded slightly. "No need for formalities." "Thank you, young master." Everyone stood up and nodded slightly to show their respect. Sun Hao looked at Zhang Tianming and frowned. After a short while, he realized that this person was the sect master of the Origin Heaven sect, Zhang Tianming. When he came to the northern region, he had given him quite a number of resources. "Zhang Tianming, why are you here?" Sun Hao asked. "Young master, it's like this." Zhang Tianming walked forward and explained how he joined the Evil Suppressing Alliance and the reason why he came to the Absolute Beginning Mine. Sun Hao listened to this secretly and did not interrupt. When Zhang Tianming finished, Sun Hao opened his mouth. "Soul, sinking divine wood?" He looked at the soul immersing divine wood branch in Zhang Tianming's hand. This branch can disperse the malevolent ghosts, and it can even withstand the blood-refining heavenly array. "Yes, young master." Zhang Tianming presented the branch of the soul-sinking divine wood. Sun Hao took the branch, suddenly raised his eyebrows, and his eyes bloomed. If you remember correctly, Ru Meng said that the soul-sinking divine wood could grow into a world tree and become a bridge to the universe. In other words, one could travel to the depths of the universe through the soul-sinking divine wood. If the soul-subduing divine wood behind his yard could grow, it might be able to go to the Big Dipper galaxy. Bringing it with him to realize Buddhist kingdom was the safest choice. Thinking like this, Sun Hao secretly made a decision. Then, he looked up at Zhang Tianming and the others, smiling and nodding. "Everyone did a good job. Your courage and responsibility are worthy of praise. You all sit down and listen to my song." Sun Hao looked at the crowd and said. As soon as these words came out, everyone widened their eyes and stood in place. Surprise and disbelief were written all over their faces. That expression was as if they had obtained a treasure. Listening to the young master playing music, they had been fascinated for a long time. They had been working so hard in the hope that one day they could see the young master and listen to the young master play music. Unexpectedly, this time their dream came true. It felt like a dream. It took a long time for them to calm down. They moved quickly and sat cross-legged in the void. Zheng, looking at the fiery eyes of the crowd, Sun Hao nodded slightly. His fingertips plucked the strings, and the melody sounded. The seven-colored divine essence sprang out from his fingertips, rushing like clouds and mist, enveloping everyone in an instant. The seven-colored divine essence penetrated into the body through the pores and flowed throughout the body through the meridians. The divine essence penetrated into the body, cutting hair and washing marrow. The cells of the whole body quickly became active. That kind of numb feeling like an electric shock strongly stimulated the nerves. A burst of comfortable cries resounded through the world. Everyone's face was full of smiles. At this moment, their strength was rapidly increasing. The six-eared macaque looked at this scene, and his face showed incomparable envy. He stood there, wanting to move, but not daring to move. His strength had fallen to the 8th grade demigod realm. It was far from the peak. If he could swallow some divine essence, it was possible to reach the peak of demigod. However, without the young master's permission, how would he dare? After a while, Sun Hao stopped playing the zither, and his eyes swept to the six-eared macaque. Looking at his eager look, the corner of his mouth raised. Six-eared, don't worry, I have something to ask you, and you can go and swallow it after asking. Hearing this, the six-eared macaque's eyes showed a bright light, and he walked to Sun Hao with an excited face. Young master, if you have any questions, just ask. I will answer all I know. The six-eared macaque said. Sun Hao opened his mouth and asked, listening to you. Those were all red demons just now. On the face of the six-eared macaque, there was a look of fear. Young master, those red-haired skeletons just now were not red demons, but the king of red demons. King of red demons? What is this? What does this have to do with green demons? Sun Hao asked. Young master, the king of red demons can be said to be created by the taboo existence, and it is the general of the taboo existence. Source Heavenly Gate cultivation method is the taboo existence. Choosing geniuses among hundreds of millions of human cultivators to become the king of red demons. As for the green demons, they are just servants of the taboo existence, and they can't be compared with the king of red demons at all. The six-eared macaque said. Listening to this, Sun Hao frowned and thought. The doubt on his face grew stronger and stronger. He looked at the six-eared macaque and continued to ask, what does the blood spirit, evil spirit, that Fong Xiao swallowed have to do with the taboo existence? I don't know what the specific relationship is. However, it must be at least a general. In ancient times, ordinary god emperors were not his opponents. The six-eared macaque said, God emperor? The realm above the god king? Sun Hao asked. No, young master. Above the god king is the supreme god, and above the supreme god is the god emperor. The six-eared macaque said. Sun Hao nodded slightly, revealing a thoughtful look. Who is that taboo existence? Just how powerful was his cultivation level? A general was the god emperor. Then, wasn't he above the god emperor? Otherwise, why would the blood spirit, evil spirit listen to him? The more he thought about it, the more cautious Sun Hao's expression became. He felt as if he was trapped in a quagmire, unable to extricate himself. All of this was like a shocking conspiracy shrouding his heart. There were too many secrets in this world. He was afraid that the system he obtained was also deliberately done by someone. The more he thought about it, the more afraid he was. The most important thing now was to go to the Shadow Realm first. Young master, can I go and absorb the divine essence? The six-eared macaque looked at Sun Hao with a look of anticipation. Both of you go. Thank you, young master. The Thunder Tribulation's sovereign and the six-eared macaque were full of gratitude. They quickly flew into the crowd and began to absorb the seven-colored divine essence. Chapter 426. Somewhere in the heaven realm, the mist was heavy and multicolored light was spewing out. Amidst the auspicious purple aura, 2 rows of pillars extended into the distance. Each pillar was engraved with the image of a strange beast. There was a dragon, a phoenix, a qilin, a bluebird. Each of the strange beasts seemed to be trying to break free from the shackles of the pillars. At the end of the pillar, a temple stood in the air. Above the temple, golden light flowed, shining brilliantly. The majestic Buddhist aura spread out in all directions, causing one to have the urge to worship it. In the temple, a large Buddha sat cross-legged on the main seat, his eyes closed in contemplation. In front of him stood the 4 great bodhisattvas and the 10 vajras. 3,000 Buddhas filled the entire hall. The square outside the temple was filled with tens of thousands of arhats. Some were kneeling, some were praying, some were standing, and some were squatting. Each of them had a disk of Buddhist light behind them. At this moment, all of them had their eyes closed and were deep in thought. The Buddha's radiance shone, and his appearance was solemn. Suddenly, the Buddha opened his eyes, and the entire world rumbled. At this moment, all the Buddhas opened their eyes and looked at the great Buddha with sincerity. The power of faith is weakening. Something is happening in the Buddhist nation. The great Buddha murmured as golden light flowed in his eyes. He pinched his fingers and calculated with a solemn expression. Buddha, did something happen? A bodhisattva asked. The faith in the Buddhist nation has deteriorated. Vermin have invaded. 2 waves of parasites have invaded. One of them is formed by the remnant soul of the Hui, and the other is shrouded by a mysterious aura that I can't figure out. I'm afraid these 2 forces will be detrimental to the Buddhist kingdom. At this point, the great Buddha looked at another Buddha. Venerable Anua, the great Buddha said, Buddha. The Buddha walked forward, put his palms together, and bowed. There has been a change in the Buddhist nation. I would like to trouble you to descend to the lower realm and investigate. The great Buddha said, Yes, Buddha. Venerable Anua answered, Remember, the immeasurable tribulation is about to begin, and the age of darkness will descend once more. To ensure the prosperity of Buddhism, the Buddhist nation is of utmost importance. Right now, the path of Buddha is opening. What you need to do is to ensure that the path of Buddhism is not disturbed by vermin. Do you understand? Said the Buddha. As you command, Buddha. With that, supremacy Anua floated away. Buddha, will supremacy Anua alone be enough? Asked a bodhisattva. The Buddhist nation has experienced the Dark Age and is on the verge of collapse. It can't withstand too much power. Everything has its own destiny. We just need to be calm and collected, said the great Buddha. Yes, sir. All the great Buddhas bowed together. Pegasus Galaxy, Pegasus Planet. In a dazzling golden temple, a golden-robed youth was sitting cross-legged in front of a Buddha statue, mumbling something. Nibbyanin Reef. Lines of scripture slowly flew out of his mouth and circled around his head. An ancient Buddha formed above the golden-robed youth's head. The ancient Buddha sat cross-legged on the head of the golden-robed youth with its palms pressed together, looking dignified and extraordinary. When this happened, the eyes of the monks standing in the hall lit up. Admiration was written all over his face. Young Master Wu Hong is indeed formidable, yet he actually managed to condense the golden body of the Buddhist Tao. I'm afraid it won't be difficult for him to obtain a Buddhist throne in the future. Of course, among the human race, how many Buddhists can compare with young Master Wu Hong? I heard that young Master Wu Hong is not even 5,000 years old. What? Not even 5,000 years old, and he has condensed a golden body. Oh my God! Everyone looked at the golden-robed youth in surprise. That expression was as if they were looking at the arrival of the Buddha. After a long time, the golden-robed youth opened his eyes, stood up, and bowed to the group of monks in a Buddhist greeting. A spring breeze-like smile emitted from his face, making people feel comfortable all over. Young Master Wu. At this moment, a white-bearded old monk walked forward. Greetings, Abbot. The golden-robed youth was polite. Young Master Wu, you are too polite. Although you are a layman disciple, your attainments in Buddhism are far inferior to mine. In 2 days, the Buddhist nation's passage will open. Are you ready? Said the old monk. Abbot, I am ready. The golden-robed youth nodded slightly. Hearing this, the old monk stroked his long beard with a satisfied look. Deep in the universe, in a certain space, a woman in a blue dress sat cross-legged on the ground, her hands constantly forming seals. Buzz, a series of golden dragon projections began to circle around her. These golden dragons quickly merged, and the phantoms gradually became solid. After a while, a golden dragon formed and kept moving on the woman's fingertips. Howl! Every roar of the golden dragon would shake the space and distort it as if it was about to break apart. The blue-veiled woman looked at this scene. Her golden eyes bloomed with a strange light. It's done. She raised the corner of her mouth and reached out to touch a dragon horn on the top of her head. The golden dragon drilled into it and disappeared. The path of Buddhism is about to open. This time, I must get a Buddhist position. Father, I will go to the Buddhist nation to get the Buddhist position first. The blue-veiled woman took out a communication jade slip, sent the message, and put it away. Buzz, the blue-veiled woman's figure flashed and instantly disappeared. Scenes like this were happening all over the mortal realm and the universe. All the demigods who cultivated Buddhism came out one after another. A storm of dragons and tigers was about to be staged in the Buddhist nation, Xiang Star, east of the Tianluo continent, hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. Here, there's a vast and boundless continent called the Elysium. In the center of the continent, there is a mountain range called Mount Meru. On this day, over Mount Meru, the sky shook with layers of ripples, and 3 figures walked out of the ripples and stood over Mount Meru. These 3 people were Sun Hao, Thunder Tribulation Lord, and Six-Eared Macaque. They looked at Mount Meru with puzzled faces. Strange, how come a bald donkey is fine? Six-Eared Macaque scratched his head and said, Six-Eared, did you bring me to the wrong place? Thunder Tribulation Lord said, How is it possible? I can sense my other body just below. Six-Eared Macaque said, Then why did all the bald donkeys here disappear? Thunder Tribulation Lord asked, How would I know? Six-Eared Macaque said, Okay. Sun Hao waved his hand, and the 2 immediately stopped quarreling. Sun Hao's eyes swept to Mount Meru as if he could see through the ground. Six-Eared is right. It is indeed below. After speaking, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed to the sky. Whoosh! 9 suns, rushing straight to the sky, quickly merged into one. The sun shone down, covering Mount Meru. At this moment, whoosh! Everything on Mount Meru evaporated quickly. Very soon, a Buddha's hand covered the earth, standing proudly on Mount Meru. Under the Buddha's hand, the Six-Eared Macaque statue was suppressed. After the hand was just revealed, a Buddha statue phantom went straight up and stood in front of Sun Hao in an instant. Fellow Taoist, you and I meet again the words are not finished. The face of the Buddha statue phantom changed dramatically. Looking at Sun Hao's outstretched finger, he waved his hand again and again. Fellow Taoist, don't. No. The Buddha statue phantom quickly burst apart. The shouting stopped abruptly. Boom! The seal of the Six-Eared Macaque statue exploded. The clone soared into the sky, turned into a monkey hair, and returned to the back of the Six-Eared Macaque's head. Boom! The pentagonal black tower exploded, and 2 soul phantoms whistled up and stood in front of Sun Hao. Looking at these 2 soul phantoms, Sun Hao's face showed surprise and doubt. Chapter 427. The 2 soul phantoms standing in front of Sun Hao. One was in the form of a dragon, and the other was in the form of a human. Sun Hao stared directly at the dragon-shaped soul phantom. Sun Hao could confirm that this dragon-shaped phantom was fundamentally different from the dragon souls he had seen. Or rather, they were not on the same level at all. Thank you, Senior. The 2 phantoms bowed at the same time. Although there was no sound, he could tell from their mouths that they were thanking him. Go! Sun Hao waved his hand. The two figures pierced through the void and disappeared. Lu'er, what is Ao Lai's identity? Sun Hao asked. Young master, Ao Lai is a heaven realm divine dragon. Everyone thinks that he is the third prince of the West Sea Divine Dragon King. Actually, that's not the case. It's because he possesses the bloodline of the dragon god that the West Sea Divine Dragon King secretly adopted him. I'm planning to take his dragon god bloodline after he grows up. However, the Divine Dragon King of the West Ocean never expected that someone would know about this. He was afraid that the matter would be exposed. So he joined forces with Old Man Tathagata to rob Ao Lai of his bloodline in advance. However, the bloodline can be seized, but the soul is difficult. Even if Old Man Rulai exhausted all his methods, he still couldn't destroy Ao Lai's soul. Old Man Rulai was afraid of karma, so he banished Ao Lai to the mortal realm and transformed into a white horse to go to the Western Paradise to obtain scriptures. From there, we can resolve the Buddhist kingdom's calamity. Six-eared macaque said. Hearing this, Sun Hao was secretly surprised. Unexpectedly, this matter was not as simple as it seemed. The West Ocean Divine Dragon King and Tathagata were simply too shameless. What happened to the benevolent heart? Everything was just profit. Hexa-ear, how do you know so much? The Lightning Tribulation ruler said. Hee, don't you know who this old sun is? I'm a monkey that doesn't belong to the 10 species of chaos. I know the future, understand the cause and effect, and understand all living things. This is my innate ability. Six-ears macaque said. So powerful? Then why don't you tell me where Tathagata Buddha is? The Lightning Tribulation sovereign said. This six-eared macaque's expression froze. He scratched his head and ears, then pointed at Thunder Tribulation Dominator and bared his teeth. Damn fatty, if my demonic energy hadn't been seized by Old Man Rulai, how could I not know? If you can't, then so be it. All right. Sun Hao smiled and shook his head, and the two stopped arguing. Lu'er, in that case, Buddha knew that you knew these things and was afraid that you would tell the world. So he sealed you up? Sun Hao asked. Yes, young master. This Old Man Rulai is just too shameless. Don't be fooled by his laughter. He's a man who stabs people in the back. Mister, when you see him, you must not believe what he says. Six-ear macaque said. I understand. Sun Hao nodded. Everything was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Everything was for the sake of profit. Where is the entrance to the Buddha kingdom? Sun Hao asked. Young master, he's at Mount Lingshan. Bring me there. Yes, young master. Passing through the void, the three of them arrived above the spirited mountain. Looking at the scene before him, his face was filled with doubt. The top of the mountain was dead silent. There was no sign of anyone living there. The temples were covered in a layer of dust. They had not been cleaned for at least half a month. What's going on? Sun Hao asked. Mister, I don't know either. Six-ear macaque said. Don't you know everything? Why don't you know this? Thunder Retribution Lord said sarcastically. I, old son, can only understand the past, not the past. How can I know? Six-ear macaque said. Then are you sure this is the entrance to the Buddha kingdom? Sun Hao asked. Mister, I can absolutely confirm it. Six-ear macaque nodded and promised. Sun Hao frowned, showing a thoughtful look. In the entire Elysium, he did not find Luo Luyin and the others, nor did he find Ning Mingji and the others. Did they all go to the Buddha kingdom? Who? Sun Hao's mind moved and began to use the Karma Dao. After a while, Sun Hao withdrew the Dao, showing a touch of caution on his face. There is no karma left in these places. To have such means, it seems that the strength is by no means simple. Is it Tathagata's doing, or the taboo existence's doing? Or Tathagata is the taboo existence? Sun Hao thought secretly, frowning tighter and tighter. Uneasiness was written all over his face. I can't find any trace of the entrance here. It seems to be hidden. Is it another taboo existence that prevents me from going to the Buddha kingdom? Thinking like this, Sun Hao's mind moved, and his consciousness sank into the soul space. Looking at the rapidly growing soul, sinking divine wood, the corners of his mouth rose. Master, you're here? Sensing Sun Hao's consciousness, the soul-sinking divine would transformed into a human form and flew in front of Sun Hao's consciousness body. I want to ask you for some help. Someone erased the space teleportation entrance. Can you help me find it? Sun Hao asked. Master, you mean the teleportation entrance of the Buddha kingdom? Soul-sinking divine would ask. Yes. Sun Hao nodded. Please wait a moment. After the soul-sinking divine would finish speaking, it changed into its original appearance. Its branches and leaves quickly grew to tens of thousands of meters high, extremely huge. However, compared with the 9-color round stone in Sun Hao's soul space, it was like fine sand and a planet. There was no comparison at all. On the soul-sinking divine wood, a pale green light lit up. These rays of light flew out from Sun Hao's eyebrows and enveloped the entire sky above the spiritual mountain. After a while, these pale green rays dissipated. In the soul space, the soul-sinking divine would transformed into a human form and walk to Sun Hao. Master, I can't do anything to find it. Even you can't? Sun Hao was surprised. Master, this technique is definitely not done by an ordinary god. The traces erased by that kind of existence are not something I can find now. Soul-sinking divine would said. Sun Hao looked bitter. Is there no other way? Master, unless I grow into a world tree. Soul-sinking divine would said. Then how long do you need? Sun Hao asked. Master, in 10 years at least, 20 years at most, you will definitely grow into a world tree. Soul-sinking divine would said. 20 years? Sun Hao nodded slightly. Grow as soon as possible. Yes, master. Soul-sinking divine would quickly flew to the vicinity of the huge, 9-colored round stone, changed into its original form, stretched its branches and leaves, and spread between heaven and earth. Sun Hao walked to Huang Ruming's crystal coffin and stroked the lid of the crystal coffin. Rumung, don't worry, I will definitely resurrect you. After a long time, Sun Hao stood up. On his face, there was a touch of firmness. The person behind this was extremely not simple. First, he destroyed the Great Array, and then he was prevented from entering the Buddha kingdom. Even the world tree in the Jade Lake Palace was pulled out by someone. No matter who you are, when I find you, I will make your soul fly away and scatter. Sun Hao secretly clenched his fists, and his killing intent rose. Withdrawing his emotions, Sun Hao's consciousness returned to his body, just sitting down cross-legged. Kacha, a thunderclap sounded. In the sky, a crack spread. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao's eyes widened, and his face was full of surprise. The entrance of the Buddha kingdom? Chapter 428. Tathagata Buddhist Kingdom, above a sea of sand. Phew! 3 figures appeared out of thin air. It was Sun Hao and the other 2. Phew! The 3 of them slowly landed. On the sandy ground, the heat was scalding his body, causing him pain. Sun Hao looked at the golden sea of sand and couldn't help but frown. Every grain of sand here was evenly distributed, as if they were carved from a mold. Phew! Sun Hao released his divine sense. With him, as the center, his divine sense spread in all directions in a ball. After reaching 1,000 miles, his divine sense seemed to be under a terrifying pressure, and it was difficult for him to go any further. What's happening here? In this Tathagata Buddhist country, my divine can only sweep a meter. It's better to use my eyes. Lightning tribulation, sovereign said. You can't compare to me, old son, right? My divine telekinesis and golden gaze fiery eyes can scan up to 10 meters away. 6 Ears Macaque raised his head proudly. Sun Hao looked at the 2 guys and shook his head for a while. Let's go. Sun Hao found a direction, took the Thunder Tribulation ruler and the other 2, and stepped forward. Although it seemed slow, each step covered 100 miles. The 3 figures instantly disappeared. Along the way, there was only a vast sea of sand and no living beings. It was as if the 3 of them were the only ones in the world. Luer, how big is the Tathagata Buddhist kingdom? Sun Hao asked. Young master, it is unimaginably big. The surface area alone is the size of 100,000 purple suns. Six-eared macaque said. 100,000 purple sun stars? Sun Hao looked surprised. 100,000 violet sun stars. This Tathagata Buddhist country was indeed huge. I wonder where he is right now. The most important thing right now was naturally to find the spatial passageway leading to the Big Dipper galaxy. If he could find someone to ask, he wouldn't have to fly around aimlessly. Lu'er, do you know the space passage to the Big Dipper galaxy? Sun Hao asked. Young master, this is the first time I come here. I don't know. Six-eared macaque said. Then let's find a place with people and ask. Sun Hao said, Mister, I'm afraid it's not appropriate for us to look like this. Six-eared macaque said. What? Young master, this is the real-life Buddhist country. Those who can enter this place are all people who cultivate the Buddhist Tao. If we go to places with a lot of people like this, people will definitely notice us. It will be inappropriate to ask you for information. Six-eared macaque said. That makes sense. Sun Hao nodded slightly and pointed with his right hand. Phew! 3 forces flew out from his fingertips and enveloped the 3 of them. The 3 of them were transforming at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a moment, the 3 of them had turned into 3 monks. They looked like accomplished monks, inspiring reverence in the hearts of others. Young master's transformation path is also terrifying. My eyes of fire and gold can't see anything. I don't need you to praise who the young master is. All right, let's go. The 3 of them strode forward, traversing hundreds of miles with each step. They walked for about half a day. The 3 of them stopped in their tracks and looked at the monk in a kasaya before them. A hint of surprise flashed in their eyes. The monk quickly walked forward and bowed to the 3 of them. Masters, may I know where you are from? Sun Hao smiled slightly and pointed behind him. The monk looked in the direction of Sun Hao's finger. His pupils contracted, and his face showed incomparable worship. Greetings, master. Masters, looking at your clothes, you must be from the mortal realm? Puhue monk asked. Sun Hao nodded slightly with an unfathomable look. Master, I'm also from the mortal realm. Little monk's Dharma name is Puhue. May I know the 3 masters' Dharma names? Puhue monk asked. Poor monk Dharma Tion. Sun Hao said. Little monk Dharma ear. Little monk Dharma Ao. 3 masters. Are you going to enter the Buddhist road? Puhui asked. Sun Hao smiled slightly and did not answer directly. Instead, he looked at Puhui and said, Master Puhui, what about you? Me? Puhui smiled and shook his head. 3 masters. This little monk's cultivation is shallow and not qualified to enter the Buddhist road. Master Puhui, even you're not qualified? Sun Hao pretended to be surprised. Puhui smiled bitterly. This little monk has not even condensed a Buddhist seal, let alone condense a golden body. Master Fantion, your temperament is outstanding, and your body is surrounded by Buddha Chi. Presumably, you have condensed a golden body, right? Puhui asked. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth and answered directly. Looking at Sun Hao's expression, Puhui's heart thumped, and her pupils contracted violently. Unexpectedly, Master Fantion had condensed a golden body. It was really not simple. Stepping on the Buddhist road and obtaining the Buddha position, there must be no problem. I can actually see such a person. If I can make friends with him, he may help me after winning the Buddha position. This kind of good fortune, how can I miss it? Thinking like this, Puhui secretly made a decision. Master Fantion, why don't we go together? Is that okay? That's exactly what I mean. Sun Hao nodded. Thank you, Master Fantion. Puhui looked excited. No, this poor monk has just come here and doesn't know much about this place. Please give me some advice, Master Puhui. Sun Hao said. Master Fantion, I don't dare to give advice. Whatever I know, I will definitely answer without fail. Master Fantion, look over there. Puhui pointed in a direction and said, Go in this direction and walk about 200,000 kilometers, and you can reach Ma City. Ma City? Sun Hao was puzzled. Master Fantion, this Buddhist road only opens once in 100 years. The 3 realms are so big, and there are countless Buddhist geniuses. Every time the Buddhist road opens, the Buddha kingdom will gather hundreds of millions of Buddhist geniuses. The Buddhist road naturally can't accommodate so many people, so it can only be screened, and this Ma City is one of the screening places. Puhui said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. Okay, let's go to Ma City together. Okay, Master Fantion. Puhui nodded and led the way. Just taking a step, Puhui looked back and found that Sun Hao and the others had already disappeared. Puhui froze in place, dumbfounded. Isn't this Master Fantion too powerful? This Tathagata Buddhist land can actually use earth shrinking. It seems that not only condensed the golden body, but also cultivated the magical power of Buddhism. Puhui murmured. When she looked up, she found that Sun Hao and the others had returned to her side again. Master Puhui, why don't you come with us? Thank you, Master Fantion. As soon as she finished speaking, a strange force enveloped Puhui's body and took her away in an instant. 100 miles in one step, my God. Master Fantion is so powerful. Puhui's face was full of amazement, and the color of worship was written all over her face. After a few steps, Sun Hao stopped. It's too slow, I'll take you with me. These words were like thunder in Puhui's mind. Her heart beat violently, and for a while it was difficult to calm down. In this Buddha kingdom, 100 miles in one step was simply 1 in a million. Where's the speed slow? At this rate, they could reach Ma City in an hour. Could it be that Master Fantion wanted to break the space? How could this be possible? This idea had just taken shape. Kacha, the sound of space cracking sounded. Before Puhui could react, she was rolled up by a force, taken into the void, and disappeared. Chapter 429. Wine and meat pass through the intestines, but Buddha stays in the heart. A fat monk walked on the street, holding a big chicken leg in his hand, gnawing his mouth full of grease. The fat monk patted his big belly with a satisfied look. Evil creature, you have violated my Buddhist precepts, and you still have the face to wear a Buddhist robe? A white-browed monk pointed at the fat monk and said bitterly, My Buddhist precepts? Hee, can you represent Buddhism? The fat monk said, You. The white-browed monk's chest stagnated, and he had nothing to say. The two of them quarreled and soon attracted a group of onlookers. The onlookers were dressed differently, and most of them were monks. What you? This was passed down by Buddha enlightened. The fat monk had a proud look on his face. Nonsense, Buddha enlightened? I think he's a demon who drinks and eats meat. How can he be a Buddhist disciple? The white-browed monk said, Old man, I think you are the demon. At this time, another monk stood up. This monk, holding a bowl of wine, was drunk and staggered as if he was about to fall but didn't fall. He looked like a roly-poly doll. Buddha enlightened said that as long as there is kindness in the heart and kindness in the action, it is kindness. Unlike you, benevolent on the surface, harming people with a knife in the dark. I think you are the demon. The drunken monk said, Rebellious, rebellious, you demons, don't even think about participating in the Buddhist road election. The white-browed monk said, Huh. The fat monk and the drunken monk laughed and shook their heads repeatedly. Who cares? Cultivation, cultivation, cultivation. One must cultivate to be carefree, to cultivate to be happy. This can't be done, that can't be done. Then what's the use of cultivation? Buddha enlightened said that all things in the world, the weak are prey to the strong. This is the law of heaven. The law of heaven can't be violated. Why should we go against heaven? Free and unfettered life, happy life, isn't it happy? The two gradually went away. Everyone looked at their backs, revealing a thoughtful look. In the crowd, Sun Hao stood in place, showing a strange face. Didn't these words say by himself? How did it become what Buddha enlightened said? Ning Mingji's Buddhist name seemed to be enlightened. Could it be that all this was said by him? From the looks of it, it must be so. Sun Hao nodded secretly, and his divine sense swept out, covering the entire city. However, he did not find Ning Mingji and the others. Not in the city? Forget it. I'll look for them in the future. What I need to do now is to figure out the situation first. then find out the location of the portal to the Heavenly Dipper Galaxy. Sun Hao thought secretly and moved forward. Master Fation, what those two people said just now is very reasonable. Pu Hui's eyes lit up as if she had comprehended many things. Hearing this, Sun Hao was slightly taken aback. This fellow's comprehension wasn't bad. It does make some sense. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Master Fatian, do you think so too? Pu Hui's face was filled with complicated emotions. You don't even agree with what you said? From the looks of it, Pu Hui was a seedling that was worth cultivating. Pu Hui, do you want to participate in the Buddha Road competition? Sun Hao asked. Yes. Pu Hui nodded without hesitation. Then, she waved her hands. Master Fan Tian, don't embarrass yourself with my cultivation. Come with me. Sun Lian Tian smiled faintly and walked forward. Master Fan Tian, what are you doing? Pu Hui looked puzzled. Don't worry, you'll know soon. Under Sun Hao's lead, the three walked into an inn. After settling down, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed forward. A transparent ripple spread in a ball shape, covering the entire room in an instant. The entire room was isolated from other people's spiritual senses, and it was impossible to see. Master Fan Tian, this method is simply... Pu Hui's eyes widened, and she was shocked. Sit cross-legged, Sun Hao said. Yes, master. Despite her doubts, Pu Hui still sat down according to Sun Hao's request. Pervert, Sun Hao muttered something in his mouth, and the scriptures, under Sun Hao's control, flew quickly toward Pu Hui like golden butterflies. In the blink of an eye, Pu Hui was enveloped. These scriptures, with special Buddhist power, condensed into a Buddhist seal and submerged into Pu Hui's body in turn. Oh, I condensed a Buddhist seal? Am I dreaming? Pu Hui's eyes widened, and her two eyes looked at her eyebrows like a cross-eyed. The color of disbelief was written all over her face. With a thought, the Buddha seal flew from her eyebrows and floated in front of Pu Hui. Ooh. The dazzling golden light enveloped the entire room. The shocking power was contained in the Buddha seal. Pu Hui could confirm that if she used this Buddha seal, it would be no problem to destroy a 5th-grade demigod. In the moment when Pu Hui was stunned, another Buddha seal flew and drilled into the top of the skull. The Buddha seal between her eyebrows and the Buddha seal on the top of the skull seemed to be activated, and there was a kind of superimposed power. Now, I'm afraid it's not a problem to destroy a 6th-grade demigod. Pu Hui muttered to herself. Her heart was like being hit by the waves, and she couldn't calm down for a long time. However, left arm, left hand, left palm, one Buddha seal after another drilled into Pu Hui's body. There were a total of 108 Buddha seals protecting all the important acupoints of the body. These Buddha seals, bound to each other, stimulated a shocking power. It was still impossible to determine how strong she was now. The scriptures continued to fly, enveloping Pu Hui's entire body. His fleshly body was changing rapidly. His body emitted golden light, getting brighter and brighter. Finally, it was so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. This is a golden body, my God. My golden body is by no means ordinary. Now I am absolutely qualified to fight for a Buddha position. Pu Hui sat cross-legged on the ground, sensing the changes in his body, clenching his fists excitedly. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes. He looked at Sun Hao as if he was looking at a Buddha. Worship, awe, gratitude, all kinds of emotions constantly intertwined on his face. The means of Heavenly Law Master, no, Heavenly Law Buddha was simply unimaginable. Heavenly Law Buddha must have descended from the heavenly realm. It was all thanks to Heavenly Law Buddha that he was able to cultivate. His kindness could never be repaid. Thank you, Heavenly Law Buddha. Pu Hui knelt in front of Sun Hao and kowtowed. That kind of piety was indescribable in words. A power of faith rushed from the top of Pu Hui's head and drilled into Sun Hao's body. It seems that this must be the power of faith. Sun Hao nodded secretly. Get up. Thank you, Buddha. Pu Hui looked at Sun Hao with an excited face. Here, you should still call me master. Since you have entered my sect, you must carry forward my Buddhism. Sun Hao said, Buddha, master, this disciple will remember. Pu Hui nodded heavily. Go and sign up. Remember, you must take a Buddha position. Don't insult my name. Sun Hao said, Yes, master, this disciple will leave. Leaving the inn, Pu Hui's face bloomed with a strange light. Buddha's means are unimaginable. Pu Hui took a few long breaths before calming down. He took a step and walked quickly to the registration place. Chapter 430. In a tea house. The road to Buddhism is about to open. Who do you think will win the right to enter the city? It's hard to say. There are so many people in the city, and there are only 10 slots. Who knows who will be qualified? Others might not dare to say, but this penniless monk can confirm one person. A monk with thick eyebrows stood up and said confidently, What made you so sure? The thick-browed monk smiled faintly. That's naturally young Master Wu Hong. As soon as these words came out, the entire tea house fell into dead silence. The expressions on everyone's faces kept changing, but most of them were astonished. What? Did young Master Wu Hong come to this city? Are you kidding me? What kind of identity does young Master Wu Hong have? He is the son of the Vice Alliance Master of the Human World Cultivator Alliance, Wu Tai. How could he come a Ma Cheng? It's said that young Master Wu Hong has already condensed the golden body. If such a figure were to participate in the competition, he would definitely choose a large city. How could he possibly come to this small city? Voices of doubt rang out continuously. When the thick-browed monk heard this, he only smiled slightly and did not answer. After the discussion ended, the thick-browed monk continued to speak. I don't know the exact reason, but I saw young Master Wu Hong with my own eyes. That aura makes people want to worship him with just a glance. Young Master Wu Hong is really too handsome. The monk's voice became softer and softer. Those who heard it couldn't help but tremble, and goosebumps covered their bodies. Sun Hao sat not far away, listening to these discussions, and nodded slightly. From the looks of it, he must be a young master of an aristocratic family who came here to gain experience. Such a person must know a lot. It should be easy to find out where the Heavenly Dipper Galaxy's teleportation formation was. Thinking like this, Sun Hao was about to release his divine senses to find Wu Hong's location. At this moment, big news, big news! A series of exclamations came from the door. Soon, a green-clothed man ran to the second floor. What big event? Why are you in such a hurry? Let me tell you, there are 3 godly cultivation techniques on the path of Buddhism. As long as you set foot on the path of Buddhism, they will belong to whoever finds them. These words were like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples. The entire scene instantly exploded. Everyone widened their eyes in excitement. A god-level cultivation technique was hard to find even if one had 1,000,000 gold coins. Unexpectedly, there were actually 3 of them this time. It was only a matter of time before he obtained a deity seat. There's actually a god-tier cultivation technique. I'm going to register. Come on, our city only has 10 places. Do you think you can do it with your meager skills? We still have to give it a try. Sun Hao's eyes lit up when he heard this. Since there was a deity-tier cultivation technique, then he had to try his luck on the path of Buddhism. However, with my current formation skills, no one should be able to stop me. I don't need to register. I can just participate. Thinking like this, Sun Hao secretly made a decision. Zhang Xian released his divine sense and enveloped the entire city. Suddenly, his brows furrowed and a thoughtful expression appeared on his face. Phew! Sun Hao took Thunder Tribulation Ruler and 6-eared Macaque and disappeared instantly. In a public square in Ma Cheng, a large group of people gathered together and pointed inside. It really is young Master Wu Hong. So handsome. I didn't expect him to be so handsome even when he's scolding people. I want to renounce asceticism. If I can become young Master Wu Hong's Tao companion, I will have no regrets in this life. Many female monks looked at Wu Hong, their eyes flickering with excitement. They saw, among the crowd, a handsome young man looked at the 2 monks in front of him, frowning slightly with a look of boredom on his face. This young man was the Wu Hong everyone was talking about. As a monk, you don't follow the rules and precepts. For your own appetite, you kill indiscriminately. What should you do? Wu Hong pointed at the two monks and shouted angrily. Good. The onlookers applauded one after another. The fat monk took a bite of the chicken leg, looked at Wu Hong, and smiled coldly. What should I do? Are you the great Buddha or the Buddha? Are you in charge of this matter? Wu Hong's face changed slightly, and he was speechless for a while. However, he quickly returned to normal. He showed a calm expression and smiled at the fat monk. I am naturally not the Buddha. Of course, I can't be the great Buddha. How can the Buddha manage such a small matter? You have violated the precepts set by the Buddha, and the entire Buddhist sect has the right to manage. If you don't accept it, get out of the Buddha's kingdom immediately. Wu Hong's voice, blessed by a secret method, echoed over the square for a long time and did not dissipate. This voice, with a bewitching power, flew to everyone. Immediately, young Master Wu Hong is right. Breaking the precepts of killing, disregarding living beings, how can this kind of person stay in the Buddha's kingdom? We should throw him into the turbulence of the universe. Voices of blame constantly sounded. Surrounded by thousands of people, the fat monk's face showed timidity, and the hand holding the chicken leg trembled slightly. He wanted to retreat and squeezed into the crowd with the drunken monk. I rarely pay attention to you. Breaking the precepts and still want to leave. Dare to insult young Master Wu Hong? Don't even think about leaving today. A group of people pointed at the fat monk and began to curse. The entire square was so packed that it was impossible for the two monks to leave. We are believers of the enlightened great Buddha. Quickly get out of the way, otherwise don't blame this poor monk for being impolite. The fat monk said angrily. Impolite? How impolite? Nonsense. He broke the precepts again. How can this kind of scum stay? Many people were eager to try and were ready to rush forward. The fat monk snorted coldly and released his aura. A Buddhist seal gushed out from the top of his head and enveloped his whole body. A wave of pressure whistled in all directions. Bang! Many onlooking Buddhist cultivators fell in all directions like fairies scattering flowers. Ouch! He fell to the ground, screaming again and again. In a Buddhist place, he actually dared to hurt people. This kind of demon should be executed on the spot. Yes, young Master Wu Hong, please make a move. Young Master Wu Hong, you are kind-hearted and compassionate. However, this kind of demon can't be left in this world to harm people. Voices of blame constantly sounded. Everyone surrounded Wu Hong, asking him to fight. Wu Hong stood in place, revealing a difficult expression. He waved his hand. Fellow Taoists, I'm also a Buddhist cultivator. We are fellow disciples. How can we kill fellow disciples like this? Young Master Wu Hong, how can the two of them be worthy of the two words fellow disciples? They are demons, not killing to appease the anger of the people. Even the Buddhist guards in the city, at this moment, also turned a blind eye. For all this, regardless, Wu Hong's peripheral vision swept over the Buddhist guards, the corners of his mouth raised into a faint sneer. After repeatedly refusing to no avail, Wu Hong stood up. He looked at the fat monk and the other, revealing a dignified expression. You too. Do you plead guilty? Plead your mother. An irritable voice rang out. Immediately after, the fat monk held the Buddhist seal in his hand and pounced straight at Wu Hong. Chapter 431. Good timing. The corner of Wu Hong's mouth rose. Without dodging, he stretched out his hand and slapped at the fat monk. In the process of slapping, Wu Hong's palm turned golden. Golden body, oh my god! Young Master Wu Hong actually condensed a golden body. Too strong, too powerful. I'm afraid there will be a seat for young Master Wu Hong in this Buddhist road. Exclamations sounded continuously. The surrounding crowd all stared at Wu Hong. Admiration was written all over their faces. Pa! A crisp sound rang out. The fat monk's body flew out like a kite with a broken string, heavily hitting the ground. Puff! A mouthful of blood was spat out from his mouth. The fat monk struggled to stand up, pointing at Wu Hong, his face full of anger. Wu Hong looked at the fat monk, slightly startled. Not dead? How is this possible? He was very clear how much power he used. Even if it was a grade 5 demigod, it would not be a problem. And he was only a grade 1 demigod. How could he withstand it? I don't believe it. Wu Hong smiled coldly, step by step walking towards the fat monk, at the same time secretly drawing out 10% of his power. This time, even if it was a grade 7 demigod, it could also kill him. He stood in front of the fat monk, condescendingly looking down at him. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for eating meat in front of me. Wu Hong waved his right hand and slapped down at the fat monk. Good ability. At this time, a sound rang out. The voice immediately dispersed the force of Wu Hong's attack. Looking back, a monk walked out from the crowd. This person did not seem to have any power fluctuations, like a mortal. This monk was none other than Pu Hui. Who are you? Wu Hong turned his head, looked at Pu Hui, slightly frowning. Pu Hui put her palms together. This little monk's dharma name is Pu Hui. May I know why benefactor wants to kill a Buddhist disciple? Buddhist disciple? Pu! He is obviously a demon. Breaking so many precepts, what qualifications does he have to be a Buddhist disciple? Before Wu Hong started, the surrounding people pointed at the fat monk, angrily rebuking. Pu Hui smiled slightly. Whether I am a Buddhist disciple or not, is it up to you to decide? Everyone was speechless. Who created the precepts and rules? Pu Hui asked. Naturally, it's Tathagata Buddha. Buddha, Tathagata? Have you heard of it? Aren't you all relying on word of mouth? Buddha said to be merciful and merciful. If you can, then do it. You want to slaughter the disciples of your own sect just for a moment of pleasure. Didn't you break the rules? Aren't you also demons that must be executed? His words caused everyone's faces to turn red, and they lowered their heads. Shame was written all over everyone's face. As long as there is kindness in your heart and in your actions, you are a disciple of the Buddhist sect. At this point, Pu Hui raised her right hand and pointed at Wu Hong. And he has never shaved his head and has cultivated other great Taoists. Since when has such a person been a disciple of our Buddhist sect? He only came to the Buddhist nation to obtain a Buddhist throne. Moreover, he even uses the secret demonic sound to confuse people's minds. He is the true devil. Pu Hui's voice reverberated in everyone's ears. Many people woke up one after another. Wu Hong's secret technique was broken, and his expression was ugly. He pointed at Pu Hui. What I cultivate is the grand Buddhist Tao. You're the real devil. You're misleading the people with your lies. With that, Wu Hong's right hand emitted a golden light and pounced straight at Pu Hui. The surrounding air was distorted at an extreme speed. The terrifying aura made people's scalp tingle. Seeing this scene, Pu Hui's face did not change. She unhurriedly stretched out her palm and pressed forward. Buzz! A Buddhist seal flew out from her palm and instantly blasted Wu Hong's body. Boom! A loud sound rang out. Wu Hong's body staggered back and directly fell to the ground. He struggled to stand up with a face full of shame and anger. I'll fight with you. With a roar, Wu Hong's whole body quickly lit up with golden light. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a golden arhut. That kind of indestructible aura surged over. You devil, helping the tyrant do evil. Today we will die together. Wu Hong's voice was cold, and he was about to rush forward. Stop! A light shout made Wu Hong and Pu Hui's face change slightly. Buddha! On Pu Hui's face, there was a touch of fear. Unexpectedly, a small city actually had a Buddha guarding it. The city competition is about to begin. You must not cause any more trouble. Otherwise, you will be killed without mercy. A roar shook everyone's ears. Everyone's eyes revealed fear, and they lowered their heads. Humph! Wu Hong's face showed unwillingness. Pointing at Pu Hui, little monk, I will remember you. This matter is not over. Benefactor, you have violated a precept again, talking nonsense. Pu Hui said. Wu Hong's chest stagnated. He reluctantly put down his hand, turned around, and quickly left. Thank you, master, for saving my life. The fat monk, and the other came to Pu Hui and gave a Buddhist salute. No need to be so polite. After saying that, Pu Hui quickly left. Everyone looked at Pu Hui, their faces changing. Worship, awe, doubt, all kinds of emotions were written on their faces. Who is he? A Buddhist seal actually blasted Wu Hong back. I don't know. He doesn't seem to be famous. Not famous? Such a powerful strength. He is at least an 8th grade demigod, right? This kind of person, how can he not be famous in the 3 realms? Maybe that monk is low-key. Such voices constantly sounded. In the crowd, Sun Hao looked at this scene, smiled and nodded. This Pu Hui not only had high perception, but also a good mind. It seemed that he did not see the wrong person. Young master, Wu Hong is gone. 6-eared macaque pointed to Wu Hong's back and said, He can't go. We will go find him later. Sun Hao said with a smile. Okay, young master. In an inn. Wow, young master Wu Hong is coming. So handsome. Handsome fart. Today he was blown back by a little monk named Pu Hui with 1 punch. What? He was blown back by a little monk? Then he is too weak, right? That's not it. Wu Hong walked into the inn, heard these voices, and stared directly at the people who were gossiping. However, what are you looking at? Not convinced. Come and hit me if you are not afraid of death. I feel F*** King cool to see him angry. Many people raised the corners of their mouths. Extremely arrogant. Wu Hong clenched his fists until they cracked. Finally, he reluctantly let go of his hands. He secretly remembered the appearance of these people, hiding the killing intent in his heart. After restoring his calm appearance, he walked back to his room. With a wave of his right hand, he set up an isolation array. Ah! Wu Hong roared angrily, his blood-red eyes staring straight ahead. Pu Hui, you wait for me. Don't let me meet you, otherwise I will make you look good. After a long time, Wu Hong gradually calmed down. Suddenly, Wu Hong raised his eyebrows and looked up. His pupils shrank, and his face changed dramatically. At some point, there was another person in the room. Chapter 432. Standing in front of Wu Hong was a middle-aged man dressed in a red robe. He stood there illusory. If one didn't look carefully, they would think that he didn't exist. Wu Hong released his secret technique, but he couldn't sense the fluctuations of power from the red-robed man. From the looks of it, he was just like a mortal. He didn't even know when this person had appeared. This person's strength was definitely not simple. You are. Wu Hong looked at the red-robed man, his face full of doubt. The red-robed man grinned, walked in front of Wu Hong, and patted his shoulder. Don't be afraid. I am your 15th ancestor. Hearing this, Wu Hong's pupils shrank, and his eyes widened. You are my 15th ancestor? Wu Hong let out a cry of surprise. Disbelief was written all over his face. According to the records of the Wu clan, tens of thousands of years ago, the 15th ancestor went out to train and never came back. Everyone thought that the 15th ancestor had died. Who would have thought that the 15th ancestor was here? Using the family's secret technique, he felt a sense of kinship that was thicker than water enveloped his heart. Wu Hong could confirm that this person was indeed related to him by blood. 15th ancestor, why are you here? Wu Hong asked. Sigh. The red-robed man sighed softly, a hint of fear on his face. It's a long story. Let's not talk about it now. The most important thing now is to go on the Buddhist path. You must obtain a Buddhist position and find a technique on the Buddhist path. It will be of great help to you in the future. The red-robed man's face was solemn. 15th ancestor, I understand. Wu Hong nodded, looked at the red-robed man, and asked, 15th ancestor, why are you here? I am a steward of Ma City. The entire city is under my control. The red-robed man said. Then were you the one who stopped me just now? Wu Hong asked. Yes. The red-robed man nodded. Why? Why didn't you let me kill him? Wu Hong's face was full of grievance. Kill him? The red-robed man smiled coldly. I dare say that you will definitely die. That little monk called Pu Hui is far more complicated than he looks. Hearing this, Wu Hong's pupils shrank, and his face was full of disbelief. How is that possible? Nothing is impossible. The red-robed man's face was full of seriousness. The Buddhist kingdom is far more complicated than it looks. There are crouching tigers and hidden dragons here. I'm afraid there are even mid-deities here. If you cause trouble here, you won't even know how you died." When Wu Hong heard these words, his pupils constricted and his body trembled. Beads of sweat rolled down his forehead as he revealed the joy of surviving a calamity. Fortunately, without the 15th ancestor, it was hard to say what would have happened. "15th ancestor, what business do you have with me?" Wu Hong asked. "I've come to find you this time because I need you to get first place in the competition on Mingtian Buddha Road." The red-robed man said, "15th Patriarch, isn't Pu Hui very powerful? How can I get first place?" Wu Hong asked. "He is very powerful, but that doesn't mean he has no weaknesses." Speaking up to here, the red-robed man took out a jade bottle and handed it to Wu Hong. "This is the soul-devouring poison. As long as you come into contact with it, your soul will be severely injured. Take this to deal with Pu Hui." Ah! Wu Hong's expression changed, and he took 2 steps back. Panic was written all over his face. "15th ancestor, we cultivate the Tao of Buddhism and are the disciples of the Buddha. How could we use such despicable methods?" "The Tao of Buddhism?" The red-robed man sneered. "Do you really think that the Buddha is merciful? Is he not?" Wu Hong's expression froze. The red-robed man looked around, his face full of fear. With a wave of his right hand, he set up several layers of restrictions. "If the Buddha is merciful, why would I be locked up here?" The red-robed man said. "What? 15th ancestor, you were locked up here by the Buddha?" Wu Hong's face was full of disbelief. "Of course not. It was his subordinates. Let me tell you, all living beings in the Buddhist nation are just tools for the Buddha to increase his strength. There's only one ending for those who don't listen, and that is to have their souls destroyed." The red-robed man's words made Wu Hong break out in a cold sweat, his face full of fear. The knowledge that had shrouded his heart for thousands of years was shattered at this moment. "Remember what I said. First place is very important to you. You must get first place at all costs." The red-robed man looked at Wu Hong with a solemn expression. "Yes, 15th ancestor." In an inn, the 6-eared macaque looked at Sun Hao and scratched his head, his face full of doubts. "Young master, aren't you going to find Wu Hong?" "Someone has gone to find him. I'd better not go to him." Sun Hao said. "Who is it that can make you afraid?" The 6-eared macaque asked. "A god," Sun Hao said. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the 6-eared macaque and the Thunder Tribulation Lord changed drastically. "Young master, is there a god in this Buddha nation?" The Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. "Yes." Sun Hao nodded slightly. Listening to them talk, "I'm afraid there are even middle gods." The 2 opened their mouths wide and murmured for a long time without saying a word. They were very clear about what a god meant. That was the darling of the heavens, who could control the power of the law, which was far from what immortal cultivators could compare with. Ordinary gods were already extremely difficult to meet, not to mention the lower and middle gods. "Young master, since the other party is a god, I think he must know where the teleportation channel of the heavenly Dipper star is. With your strength, it should be no problem to control that god, right? Why not ask him?" The Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. Sun Hao smiled slightly. "It's far from as simple as you think. There is a karma line on that god, and someone must be secretly supervising. In case the person behind finds out, it's not appropriate to act rashly. Even if you want to make a move, you must have absolute certainty." Sun Hao said. When the Thunder Tribulation Lord heard this, they nodded secretly. "Young master, what do we need to do?" "You don't need to do anything, just watch. Leave everything to me." The corner of Sun Hao's mouth rose, revealing a look of controlling everything. Subsequently, he looked at the 6-eared macaque. 6 ears. What are the conditions to break through to the divine spirit realm? Sun Hao asked. "Young master, there are 3 conditions to become a god. First, refining the divine body. You need to have a physical body that can withstand the power of the divine spirit. Second, forge the divine vein. This is the energy channel to mobilize the divine spirit. Third, condense the divine spark. This is the channel to store the divine spirit. just like the dantian of the mortal cultivator. The six-eared macaque said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. 6 ears. How many conditions have you met? Young master, following you these days, I have recovered 2 conditions. The divine body has been formed, the divine vein has been forged. Now, only condensing the divine spark. The six-eared macaque said. Is it difficult to condense the divine spark? Sun Hao asked. The six-eared macaque showed a bitter smile. Young master, condensing the divine spark is difficult, but it is not easy. Because condensing the divine spark can only rely on oneself, others can't help. Moreover, condensing the divine spark requires the help of several kinds of divine objects to greatly increase the probability. The six-eared macaque said. Hearing this, Sun Hao secretly breathed a few sighs of relief. It seemed that becoming a god was far from as simple as imagined. Although he could defeat the gods, it did not mean that he was a god. Right now, there were only 2 things that were most important: obtain the cultivation method and resurrect like a dream. Sun Hao thought secretly, his face showing a touch of determination. Chapter 433. In the Buddhist and Taoist competition field. Young Master Wu Hong. Young Master Wu Hong. Countless Buddhist and Taoist cultivators stood in the field, waving their hands with enthusiasm. They shouted the 4 words, Young Master Wu Hong, and the whole scene was in an uproar. On the field, Wu Hong stood in place, smiling and waving his hands at the crowd. His calm appearance was like a victorious general. After nearly 100 matches, Wu Hong was undefeated, and his opponents couldn't even touch his clothes. The last match was already the championship competition, and after winning, he would get first place. Next, let's welcome Master Pu Hui. The host roared. However, hush! Bursts of boos sounded. Everyone looked at Pu Hui, their faces full of contempt. 1 second place without a fight. This is simply a miracle in history. Pu Hui's strength is not good, but his luck is heaven-defying. Every time he gets a bye, his luck is simply soaring. Wait and see. When he meets young Master Wu Hong, he will definitely be beaten to a pulp. The sound of discussion continued. For these, Pu Hui seemed not to hear. He walked straight in front of Wu Hong and performed a Buddhist greeting. Almsgiver, we meet again, Pu Hui said with a smile. Wu Hong smiled and secretly touched the jade bottle in his hand. Pu Hui, no matter how strong you are, in front of this spirit-devouring poison, you will become a reptile. You will suffer later. Wu Hong looked at Pu Hui, standing there calmly, not saying a word. Begin. After a sound. Ah, Wu Hong lightly shouted, his body shining with golden light. He looked like a Vajra Arhut, with an indestructible feeling. Buzz, in an instant, he and Pu Hui were fighting. Dong, the two collided, and the sound of metal colliding rang out continuously. The more they fought, the more shocked Wu Hong was. This Pu Hui's body was like a Vajra, not the slightest bit weaker than his own golden body. In this world, how could there be such a strong body? Could it be that he had already forged a divine body? How is this possible? Wu Hong revealed a serious face and summoned the Buddhist seal. Buzz, the air trembled. The Buddhist seal superimposed on the golden body, bursting out a shocking roar, like a meteor hitting Pu Hui. Boom, a loud sound. Ding, ding. Pu Hui staggered backward, and it took her quite some time to stabilize herself. What? I'm fine. This Pu Hui actually blocked Wu Hong's killing move with just his body? How is this possible? Not only is Pu Hui's luck heaven-defying, but his strength is also terrifying. The spectator stands were in an uproar. Everyone looked at Pu Hui in astonishment. They saw Pu Hui stood in the arena, the corners of her mouth slightly raised, looking calm. He stretched out his palm unhurriedly. Buzz, a Buddhist seal, flew out from his palm and enveloped his fist. He took a step forward and instantly disappeared from the spot. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Wu Hong. Wu Hong's pupils constricted and his expression changed slightly. In a moment of panic, he stretched out his fist. Boom! The two fists collided, causing a loud explosion. The two of them stumbled backward. Wu Hong looked at Pu Hui with fear on his face. Pu Hui, I don't want to kill you. Give me the first place, okay? Wu Hong used his divine sense to transmit his voice. Hee hee. Pu Hui smiled faintly and did not reply. Her fighting spirit rose, and she had no intention of retreating. If that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless. In Wu Hong's eyes, a killing intent flashed. If that's the case, then come on. Wu Hong raised the corner of his mouth, secretly clenched the jade bottle, and rushed towards Wu Hong. Boom! The two people's fists collided again, bursting out with a deafening sound. The golden light shot straight to the ninth heaven, and a shock force pushed the two to the sides. Howl! The terrifying power was like a dragon's roar, shocking everyone's mind. Everyone watched the two fight, sitting in place without any reaction for a long time. That stunned look could not be described with words. After a moment, this Pu Hui is too powerful, right? Just relying on a Buddhist seal, she is actually evenly matched with young Master Wu Hong. I even laughed at him just now. It's simply too ignorant. Yeah, I wish there was a hole in the ground to crawl into. Everyone muttered to themselves, looking at Pu Hui with eyes full of worship. That is... Suddenly, an exclamation sounded. Following this person's gaze, everyone stared at Pu Hui, their faces full of doubt. Only to see, Pu Hui stood in place, his body emitting a green light. The veins on his face bulged, revealing a look of pain. Ah! Shrill screams, resounding throughout the entire competition field. Plop! Pu Hui collapsed to the ground, his screams gradually weakened. It looked like he was seriously injured. What happened to Master Pu Hui? He was still fine just now. That is God-devouring poison. What? My God, how did Master Pu Hui plant this poison? That goes without saying, someone poisoned him. This voice woke up the people on the viewing platform. Everyone stared at Wu Hong. The kind of angry light seemed to want to drown Wu Hong. This was done by young Master Wu Hong? How can he be such a person? That goes without saying. Looking at his appearance, he must have been prepared long ago. My God, the Tao companion I fancy is actually this kind of sanctimonious hypocrite? Damn, actually poisoning. In vain as a Buddhist cultivator. This kind of despicable means he actually used it. This kind of person, how can we let him come to the Buddhist land? On the viewing platform, instantly, the sound of criticism sounded continuously. There were even many people who stood up, using all kinds of moves against Wu Hong. Boom! Thousands of streams of light exploded on the shield, exploding continuously. The shield twisted and deformed, as if it was about to explode. The guardian of the array had an ugly expression, constantly using the power in his body to maintain the energy of his shield. The host stood on the stage, his expression changing. Facing this kind of situation, it was not easy for him to handle. Quiet, Wu Hong lightly shouted. This sound with magic instantly shook everyone on the spot. They quieted down, looking at Wu Hong with a puzzled look. Everyone, what you said is wrong. Wu Hong, walk upright. When did I use despicable means? Wu Hong's voice rumbled, shaking everyone's ears. Hearing this, everyone was puzzled. You dare to say that the God-devouring poison was not planted by you? A strong man pointed at Wu Hong, shouting loudly. That's right, the God-devouring poison was planted by me. With this sound, the surroundings exploded again. The whole scene was out of control again. When everyone calmed down, Wu Hong spoke again. You're really wrong. Poisoning is also a kind of ability. Who made the rule that poison can't be used in a competition? Is there such a rule? Wu Hong looked at the host and asked. Wow, everyone's eyes were fixed on the host. At this moment, the host was the center of attention. Under this kind of gaze, the host stood in place, his forehead overflowing with fine beads of sweat. No, the host said honestly. Chapter 434. What? No. How can you use such despicable means? Despicable poison, is he still a Buddhist? On the viewing platform, everyone looked at the host and kept criticizing and scolding. The host stood on the spot with an ugly expression. He lowered his head and did not say a word. Quiet. Wu Hong shouted softly, and everyone quietened down again. Since there is no rule that says that poison can't be used, do you think it's too much for me to use despicable means? I Wu Hong am upright. If anyone dares to discredit me, my Wu family will not be jealous. Wu Hong's gaze swept across, and everyone who met his gaze lowered their heads, not daring to look at him. Wu Hong looked at this scene, and the corner of his mouth rose. He turned back to look at the host, and said with a smile, "Why? Do you need me to announce the champion?" The host's body trembled and recovered from shock. He stood a few steps forward and said loudly through the sound amplification formation, "I announce that the champion of this time's Moss City Buddha Road competition is..." Wait! Before the host finished speaking, a voice sounded from the competition field. This voice was like a boulder falling into the water, stirring up layers of ripples. "Look!" A burst of exclamations sounded. Everyone squinted their eyes, and their expressions changed greatly, their faces full of surprise. "Master Pu Hui is fine? Oh my God! Nothing happened to him after being poisoned by the god-devouring poison. Amazing! Master Pu Hui must be the champion this time." The exclamations continued. Wu Hong saw everyone's reaction and kept a smile on his face. Turning around and looking at the scene in front of him, he could not help but widen his eyes. "How is this possible?" Wu Hong murmured, only to see Pu Hui had already stood up. The god-devouring poison in his body had long disappeared. Buzz, on his body, 10 Buddha seals started to circle around him. Golden light spilled out from his body, looking like a Buddha, very sacred. 10 Buddha seals? This what's going on? Isn't one person only able to condense one Buddha seal? How can this be? That's not it. Many geniuses can condense 2 to 3 Buddha seals. Some evildoers can even condense 4 to 5 Buddha seals. This is the first time I've seen 10 Buddha seals like this. In this case, isn't Master Pu Hui a supreme evildoer? Cries of alarm rang out continuously. Wu Hong looked at Pu Hui and opened his mouth, but he couldn't utter a word for a long time. The scene before them was simply unbelievable and unimaginable. This is impossible. Wu Hong rubbed his eyes, unwilling to believe what he was seeing. However, the 10 Buddhist seals strongly stimulated his nerves. His heart felt like it was being battered by raging waves, and he couldn't calm down at all. Buzz suddenly. A sound rang out. Rays of golden light surged out from the 10 Buddhist seals. These golden lights drilled out like silk threads and connected with the nearest Buddhist seal. In less than a moment, the 10 Buddhist seals were connected by the golden threads and overlapped with each other, bursting out with a soul-stirring power. His aura instantly increased tenfold. "My Buddha, this is a restraint." "What? This is a fetter, oh heavens. This Pu Hui is too scary." Everyone looked at this scene and muttered to themselves. There was no response for a long time. Wu Hong opened his mouth, but didn't spit out a single word. He looked at Pu Hui with a terrified expression. "The competition between us is not over. This is just the beginning." Pu Hui looked down at Wu Hong from above, walking towards him step by step. Wu Hong opened his mouth but didn't say a word. A fatal crisis enveloped his entire body. Without any hesitation, Wu Hong strode out and fled at high speed. Her. Pu Hui smiled coldly. 2 rays of golden light shot out from his eyes. Shocking killing intent surged from his body and enveloped Wu Hong. Uff! A chill spread from the bottom of Wu Hong's feet to his whole body. Wu Hong's body trembled, his footsteps paused, and he fell to the ground on his butt. Thud, thud. Pu Hui walked towards Wu Hong step by step. Each step made Wu Hong's heart beat violently once. Ew. What do you want to do? Sensing that irresistible power on Pu Hui, Wu Hong's face revealed panic. "You want to kill me? Why are you still asking me?" Pu Hui said coldly. "You want to kill me?" Wu Hong's expression froze. "Of course," Pu Hui said coolly. When these words came out, there was dead silence all around. Everyone's eyes stared at Pu Hui, their faces full of disbelief. "I didn't hear wrongly, right? Pu Hui said he wants to kill Wu Hong?" "You didn't hear wrongly, but doesn't Pu Hui know Wu Hong's identity? He is Wu Tai's son." "Yeah, if he is killed, Pu Hui will be chased by the entire Cultivator Alliance. Some bounty hunters will not let him go." I heard that Wu Hong's cousin, Wu Tan, also came to the Buddha kingdom. It is said that the two of them have a very good relationship. If he kills Wu Hong, will Wu Tan let him go? Master Pu Hui, don't be impulsive. It's not worth killing him. Voices of advice kept ringing. Wu Hong looked at Pu Hui, stunned on the spot. He dug his ears, revealing a look of disbelief. Soon after, Wu Hong grinned and pointed at Pu Hui. You said you want to kill me? You know who I am? Do you know what you're saying? You know. Before he finished his words, boom! A golden fist directly hit Wu Hong's face. Puff! A mouthful of blood mixed with teeth spurted out from Wu Hong's mouth and splattered on the ground. Wu Hong's entire face was deformed. He fell heavily to the ground and vomited blood. A serious injury. This punch directly woke Wu Hong up. He looked at Pu Hui, his eyes full of fear. He was sure that this Pu Hui would definitely kill him. A sense of crisis of death shrouded his heart. Wu Hong looked at Pu Hui walking over step by step. His face changed dramatically. Pu Hui, don't kill me, I beg you. Master Pu Hui, I was wrong. Please spare my life. However, it was of no use. Pu Hui did not slow down and quickly walked over. Huff! 10 Buddhist seals enveloped Pu Hui's fist, aimed at Wu Hong, and blasted down. Seeing that irresistible power, Wu Hong was extremely frightened. He used all his strength and roared. 15th Ancestor, save me, this sound rose. Buzzed, the sky trembled. A golden transparent palm quickly formed and pressed on Pu Hui's body. Huff! Pu Hui's body flew out like a kite with a broken string. A terrifying power wantonly destroyed her body. Pu Hui felt that her body was about to explode. It was extremely uncomfortable. Heavenly Buddha, disciple is incompetent, go first. Pu Hui's face turned red. The skin all over her body expanded rapidly, and it looked like it was about to explode. At this time, a gentle force enveloped her body and dissolved the explosive power. Pu Hui slowly landed, revealing a face of surprise. Heavenly Buddha, save me? Pu Hui muttered to herself, looked up and saw a red-robed man standing in midair. A godly aura emanated from his body, causing those who saw him to feel awe and veneration. 15th Ancestor. Seeing the red-robed man, Wu Hong ran up with a face full of surprise. Useless thing, spoiling my good thing. After that, the red-robed man backhanded Wu Hong, causing him to be dumbfounded. 15th Ancestor. Wu Hong covered his face, feeling extremely wronged. Chapter 435. Ma City Lord, Wu Ji. Why is he here? Wu Ji is actually a god, my god. Wu Ji is Wu Hong's 15th ancestor. Everyone stared blankly at the red-robed man, stunned in place. Many people showed a touch of uneasiness on their faces. He's not dead. The red-robed man's eyes stared directly at Pu Hui, and his expression was slightly startled. A demigod could survive under his hands. How is this possible? Did he have a rare treasure on him? No matter what you have, die with me. The red-robed man glanced around, and the corner of his mouth raised a sneer. He waved his right hand. Who? Wu Hong's body flew out uncontrollably and fell into the red-robed man's hands. The red-robed man grabbed Wu Hong's neck with one hand, and no matter how he struggled, it was useless. 10th, 15th ancestor, let go. Wu Hong had difficulty breathing, and he used all his strength to shout out these words. However, not only did the red-robed man not let go, but on the contrary, his strength increased a bit. The red-robed man smiled coldly. You can't do anything, but you're good at spoiling things. Today's blood sacrifice will start with you. When these words fell, a fatal crisis enveloped Wu Hong. Wu Hong's face changed dramatically, and his limbs fluttered. Boom! There was an explosion. Wu Hong's body burst into a blood mist, enveloping the red-robed man. The red-robed man opened his mouth and sucked hard. The blood mist quickly poured into his nostrils. He closed his eyes, revealing a look of enjoyment. Such a scene strongly stimulated the nerves of the people on the viewing platform. Everyone's eyes widened, and their faces were filled with disbelief. What kind of monster is he? How is he a Buddhist cultivator? He is obviously a devil. Don't just stand there, run. Panicked voices sounded constantly. Everyone took a step and fled quickly. However, who? A layer of transparent barrier enveloped the entire Ma city. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't escape. Ha! The red-robed man slowly flew into the sky. His eyes swept across the entire city, and he laughed up to the sky. His clothes were fluttering, and his body was shrouded in blood. His skin turned from white to red. It looked like a peerless devil, making people break out in cold sweat and despair. My God, the city lord is actually a demon, a god-level demon. Who can fight against it? It's over, it's over. Cries of despair rang out continuously. The Buddhist cultivators in the city were like ants on a hot pan, scurrying everywhere. The whole city was in chaos. Die. All of you die. All of you are merely my food. Ha ha. The red-robed man raised his head to the sky and laughed maniacally. Blood chi roared from his body, enveloping the entire area. The kind of power that could devour everything whistled down from the sky. In an instant, it enveloped the entire city. Ah! Blood-curdling screams rang out continuously. Everyone's skin split open, and their chi and blood flew uncontrollably into the sky. Tens of thousands of blood threads quickly entered the red-robed man's body. The red-robed man's aura was rapidly becoming stronger. Animal, stop! A loud roar shook the heavens and earth. A monk covered in golden light soared into the sky and pounced at the red-robed man. This person was Pu Hui. On his body, 108 Buddha seals enveloped his whole body, like a tortoise shell wrapping him. At the same time, Pu Hui's skin turned golden, shining brightly under the light. Buzz, he stretched out his palm and pressed it down on the red-robed man. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled, and the red-robed man's body flew out. The blood mist and pressure he had unleashed instantly crumbled. Everyone regained their freedom at this moment. They looked at the sky, their eyes all staring at Pu Hui. Worship, surprise, and disbelief were written all over their faces. Master Pu Hui saved us, and actually repelled a god with one punch. My God, 108 Buddha seals? This is really unseen and unheard of. Too terrifying, too powerful. We're saved. The eyes of the Buddhist cultivators in the entire city were staring at Pu Hui. In their eyes, there was a light of hope. The red-robed man stared at Pu Hui, also secretly surprised. A hint of fear flashed across his face. 108 Buddha seals. Even the Buddha can only cultivate 36 Buddha seals at most, right? This kind of peerless evildoer is hard to find in 1,000 years. If you run away, I really can't do anything to you. But since you came to me, then don't blame me for being impolite. This kind of peerless delicacy is mine. Ha ha! The red-robed man laughed, incomparably crazy. He looked at Pu Hui rushing towards him, his face not the slightest fear. Come on, he shouted softly. Pu! Under the ground of Ma Chung, suddenly, a blood mist, rushed up to the sky, formed a blood dragon, and rushed straight to the red-robed man. Buzz, the red-robed man's aura, quickly increased wildly. First-grade lower god, second-grade lower god, all the way to third-grade lower god before stopping. The pressure of the lower god rushed down from the red-robed man, shrouding all directions. At this moment, everyone in the city felt as if they were carrying hundreds of millions of mountains. Their bodies fell to the ground uncontrollably, shivering. Humph! Pu Hui snorted coldly, raised his fist, aimed at Ma Chung, and pressed down with his palm. Boom! With a loud explosion, the pressure that enveloped everyone instantly collapsed. Everyone recovered and looked up at the sky. Their pupils shrank, and their faces changed dramatically, only to see in the sky. Boom! Bursts of explosions as if to explode the sky. The red-robed man and Pu Hui fought together. The two fought back and forth, equally matched. The resulting shock wave kept vibrating out. The entire sky was constantly distorted. Every sound seemed to hit everyone's chest, causing their bodies to tremble. They looked at Pu Hui and secretly prayed. The battle became more and more intense, and Pu Hui's strength was exhausted. Boom! With a loud noise, Pu Hui's body flew out and slammed into the sky shield. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out. The 108 Buddha seals on his body instantly dimmed. Even the golden avatar had disappeared. It seemed that he was exhausted and unable to fight again. He looked at the red-robed man, his face showing a hint of unwillingness. Such strong chi and blood, I can't wait to eat. When I swallow you, my strength will definitely soar. At that time, who can be my opponent? Ha! The red-robed man looked down at Pu Hui, looking up to the sky and laughing. This scene, in the eyes of everyone in the city, once again fell into deep despair. Facing a god, there was no possibility of winning. Many people knelt on the ground and began to pray. Buddha, please save us. Buddha, please send Buddha to expel this kind of demon. Such voices sounded constantly in the city. When the red-robed man heard this, he revealed a sneer. This place has been shielded by me. Even if you cry out loud, no one can come to save you. Die for me. The red-robed man looked at Pu Hui, raised the corner of his mouth, stretched out his right hand, and blasted at Pu Hui, seeing that the palm was about to hit Pu Hui. At this time, a laugh sounded. Chapter 436. Seeing that the red-robed man's palm was about to fall on Pu Hui. At this time, a laugh sounded. The power on the red-robed man's palm disintegrated instantly. Tap, tap. A force directly shook the red-robed man back a few steps. The red-robed man stood in place, and his face changed slightly. He saw. In front of Pu Hui stood a monk in white. This person was Sun Hao's transformation. Are you okay? Sun Hao looked at Pu Hui and asked. All Buddha. Master, this disciple is fine. Pu Hui struggled to stand up and bowed deeply to Sun Hao. In the city, a group of Buddhist cultivators looked at this scene with different expressions on their faces. Who is he? Why does Master Pu Hui respect him so much? Claiming to be a disciple, is that person a Buddha? There are no fluctuations of power. He seems to be immortal. Doubts were written all over everyone's faces. The red-robed man looked at Sun Hao, frowning and thinking, and his face changed. Being able to break his own power, the strength of the person in front of him was by no means simple. However, he had already set up the blood-refining divine formation. Even if it was a middle god, it was impossible to escape for a while. The matter had been exposed, and he must not let one person escape here. Otherwise, his soul would fly away and scatter. Thinking like this, the red-robed man showed a touch of firmness. Without any hesitation, the red-robed man, like a ghost, instantly floated behind Sun Hao. As soon as he raised his hand, he made a killing move. Howl! A blood-red claw, with the momentum of tearing everything, grabbed at Sun Hao's head. The terrifying might cause people's hearts to tremble. Be careful! Pu Hui's face changed drastically, and he shouted hurriedly. However, it was too late. Without any accident, the blood-red claw grabbed Sun Hao's head in an instant. All the Buddhist cultivators in the city closed their eyes, not daring to look at Sun Hao's miserable scene. Master Fantion. Pu Hui closed his eyes, and tears brewed in his eyes. On his face, there was a touch of remorse. It's all my fault. If I blocked this move from Master Fantion, how good it would be. When Pu Hui was grieving, a strange force surged through his body. The scars on his body healed quickly. His strength grew rapidly. Sensing all this, Pu Hui's eyes shone. Could be? Opening his eyes, his face changed drastically, from surprise to joy. They saw. The blood-red claw had disappeared at some point. Sun Hao stood in place without any scars. Not too far away from him, the red-robed man was half kneeling on the ground, grimacing in pain as he let out a series of miserable cries. His entire right hand had disappeared. The Buddhist cultivators in the city opened their eyes and looked at the scene in the sky in bewilderment. What's going on? That Buddha is fine? That's great. A god's claw is broken? How did it break? Why should I close my eyes? Everyone's eyes were fixed on Sun Hao. The light of worship swept over in waves. The red-robed man looked at Sun Hao with a face full of fear. What realm has this kid's fleshly body reached? You actually broke my blood demon hand. Am I going to die here today? No. The red-robed man let out an unwilling roar. Any last words? Sun Hao looked at the red-robed man and said lightly. The red-robed man's expression kept changing. Don't force me. Are you done? Then die. Sun Hao stretched out his hand and grabbed toward the red-robed man. Looking at this palm, the red-robed man's heart sank to hell, and his heart could not produce the slightest resistance. No, I can't die. If you want to die, it's you. If that's the case, die. The red-robed man let out a roar. I'll let you taste the power of the blood-refining array. After this sound, on the ground of the city, a line of blood entangled rapidly and rushed up. Ow! In the blink of an eye, it formed a blood dragon. The blood dragon roared, and with a shocking power, it rushed straight to Sun Hao. The terrifying power seemed to be able to destroy the world. My God, that's the blood-refining array. It is said that even the 9th grade lower god can be refined. Isn't this Wu Ji too terrifying? He can even arrange this kind of array? What a joke. He has been the city lord for tens of thousands of years. I'm afraid it's for this day. The moment they saw the blood dragon, exclamations sounded constantly. Everyone's face was full of worry. At the same time as the blood-refining array rushed straight to Sun Hao. A karma shrouded the red-robed man. At this moment, the red-robed man found that he was being supervised again. Everything he did was exposed. However, things had come to this point, and there was no room for maneuver. The red-robed man looked at Sun Hao, revealing a cold, killing intent. Then he stepped forward, turned into a stream of light, went straight to the 9th sky, and disappeared. Ow! Hundreds of blood dragons rushed straight to Sun Hao. Sun Hao looked at this scene. His face did not change, stretched out his finger slowly, and flicked it forward. The 9 Tribulations finger was used. Boom! There was a very light explosion. Without exception, hundreds of blood dragons exploded into nothingness and disappeared. All the pressure around suddenly dissipated. At this moment, everyone regained their freedom. They looked at Sun Hao in the sky, opened their mouths, and murmured for a long time without saying a word. That kind of shock and surprise was hard to describe in words. A moment later, hiss, the sound of inhaling cold air came one after another. They looked at Sun Hao, and the light of worship and admiration kept shining. I'm dazzled. The blood-refining array was destroyed with one finger. This must be at least the strength of a god. It's terrifying. This is definitely a Buddha. In Ma City, there was a burst, and it couldn't calm down at all. The next second, it made them widen their eyes, and they were shocked to the extreme. They saw. Want to run? Sun Hao smiled coldly, stretched out his right hand, and grabbed forward. Buzz, a big transparent hand condensed and formed, directly piercing the sky, shaking up layers of ripples. No! An unwilling cry resounded through the sky. They saw that the big transparent hand grabbed a red-robed man. He was the city lord of Ma City, Wu Ji. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's nerves. Their eyes widened, and their eyeballs seemed to stare out, and their chins seemed to fall. My lord, spare me. The red-robed man was bound in the big, transparent hand and couldn't move at all. His face was full of despair, looking at Sun Hao, showing a begging look. Sun Hao smiled coldly and did not answer. My lord, you don't do it for me, for yourself. You must let me go. This Buddha's kingdom is far from simple as it looks on the surface. While you still have time now, hurry up and escape. Otherwise, when they come, no matter how powerful your means are, you will die without a doubt. The red-robed man said one sentence at a time, constantly persuading Sun Hao. However, Sun Hao was unmoved. Die. The transparent giant hand slowly clenched. No. The red-robed man let out a cry of unwillingness, seeing that the transparent giant hand was about to pinch the red-robed man into powder. At this time, buzz, the world trembled, and 4 golden lights divided into 4 corners and fell rapidly. Chapter 437. Bees, the sound of Buddha resounded throughout the world, and the rhythm of the Tao pierced through the clouds. Wisps of golden light sprinkled down from the sky. It looked like the Milky Way had descended from the nine heavens, giving off an indescribably majestic aura. 4,000-meter-tall golden Buddhas descended from the sky. They put their palms together and chanted. Phew! Scriptures jumped out of their mouths and danced around them. The body of the 1,000-meter-tall golden Buddha emitted a dazzling golden light. This divine scene made people feel reverence, and they couldn't even muster the slightest bit of resistance. 4,000-meter-tall golden Buddhas surrounded Sun Hao in a triangular formation. You can't kill him. He's a disciple of Buddhism. He must be handed over to us. Stop right now. The four golden Buddhas opened their mouths one after another. Their voices caused the world to tremble and their minds to buzz. Their eyes were fixed on Sun Hao. If something went wrong, they would immediately kill him. Are you talking to me? Sun Hao looked at the four golden Buddhas and said faintly, Impudent. There was a loud shout. A golden Buddha stretched out a big hand that covered the sky, aimed at Sun Hao, and pressed down. The terrifying pressure caused the surrounding space to distort. Under the palm, everything was imprisoned. Such a scene made everyone's scalp go numb, and they broke out in a cold sweat. His heart felt like it was going to jump out of his throat. It was very uncomfortable. Sun Hao looked at the big hand that covered the sky, stretched out his claw unhurriedly, and pressed it towards the sky. Buzz! The sky trembled, and a giant, transparent hand was formed. In the blink of an eye, it crashed into the giant hand that covered the sky. Boom! The earth cracked and the sky collapsed. A terrifying might howled in all directions. The golden Buddha palm shattered inch by inch, exploding into dust. A miserable shriek resounded through the sky. The arm of the giant Buddha that attacked just now was completely broken and turned into dust. Walla walla! The giant Buddha chanted some strange incantations. Lines of scriptures quickly flew over and enveloped his wounds. His arm was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. After recovering, all four giant Buddhas stared at Sun Hao. There was a hint of fear in his eyes. In Ma City, a group of Buddhist cultivators stared blankly at Sun Hao. That kind of reverence and admiration was not concealed at all. The palm strike just now had greatly stimulated their nerves. For a moment, they were unable to calm down. Heavenly Law Buddha, you are too powerful. Hui looked at Sun Hao's back with extreme admiration. An indescribable sense of security flooded his entire body. That imposing figure was like a Buddha who controlled everything. Formation. One of the golden Buddhas roared furiously, instantly waking up the other three golden Buddhas. They moved quickly, forming hand seals while chanting sutras. Phew! Tens of thousands of scriptures danced in the air and circled around them. The shocking might made one's scalp go numb. Sun Hao looked at them and did not stop them, letting them do it. His calm demeanor made him seem like the ruler of the world. Phew! The radiance on the four golden Buddhas grew brighter and brighter. The scriptures flew onto their skin and covered their entire bodies. Buzz! On the golden Buddha's body, golden light vibrated and the Buddhist charm rumbled. That kind of indestructible aura covered the nine heavens. His majesty was unshakable. Arhat golden body. My God, they are the four Arhats. What? The four Arhats of the Lane Temple had personally arrived? Ancestor. It's terrible. Too strong. My two legs don't seem to be my own. AI, that master, it's a disaster. Everyone stared blankly at the four great Arhats, and their hearts were lifted, extremely nervous. The four great Arhats looked at Sun Hao, and the shocking aura swept down. The Buddha is merciful and does not want to kill. I'll give you one last chance. Hand him over, and then abolish your own cultivation, and you could be spared from death. Two divine voices descended from the sky. Heaven and earth roared, and the sun and moon changed color. It seemed that there was only gold left in the whole world. The roar, mixed with terrifying pressure, rushed straight to Sun Hao. In an instant, it enveloped Sun Hao. However, there was no reaction. Sun Hao stood in place, his face unchanged. He looked at the four great arhats and smiled slightly. What if not? Death. Tao vanishes, soul flies and scatters. The earth-shattering roar swept down again. The terrifying power was 10 times stronger again. However, it was still useless. Sun Hao looked at the four great arhats and grinned. Death. Tao vanishes, soul flies and scatters. For great arhats, so what? I just won't hand it over. What can you do to me? The voice was not loud, but it was full of momentum. His voice spread clearly throughout the city and poured into the ears of every Buddhist cultivator. Hearing these voices, some were worried, some were fearful, some were afraid. Everyone's expression was different. When the four great arhats heard this, their faces changed dramatically. The kind of anger, along with the golden light on his body, surged up, turned into golden flames, and went straight to the sky. The entire world seemed as though it was about to melt. Good, very good. Today, you must pay for what you have done, before the words fell. Sun Hao's mind moved, and the transparent palm in front of him clenched quickly. No, you dare. Boom! 3 sounds rang out at the same time. The red-robed man in the transparent palm directly exploded into nothingness and disappeared. All the karma threads disintegrated in an instant. The four great arhats looked at Sun Hao. The corners of their mouths twitched slightly, and they roared angrily as if to break everything. In that case, die. For soft shouts sounded at the same time. The four great arhats stretched out their palms, aimed ahead, and pressed over. Thousands of scriptures flew over quickly, shrouding in front of them, forming 4 giant golden hands. Buzz, the air vibrated, and the 4 giant golden hands merged into one, turning into a 10,000-meter-wide giant hand, covering the world. Boom! The 10,000-meter-long giant hand burst out with the momentum of destroying heaven and earth, aiming at Ma City and pressing down. The terrifying pressure continued in all directions, and wherever it went, the space was shattered inch by inch. That kind of momentum of destroying everything, mixed with the shocking power, came quickly and enveloped Sun Hao in an instant. Sun Hao's hair danced wildly, and his clothes fluttered. His skin was blown up and down, shaking like waves. It looked like it was going to blow Sun Hao into powder. The four great arhats looked at Sun Hao, and the corners of their mouths raised a cold smile. My Buddha is not something you can resist. Today I must pull out your soul and give it to the Lord of the Buddhist nation. The four great arhats muttered to themselves, and their complacency became more and more obvious. The next second, the four great arhats widened their eyes, and their pupils contracted sharply. Looking at the scene in front of them, they showed an unbelievable expression. They saw, after the 10,000-meter-long giant palm fell 5 inches above Sun Hao's head, it was difficult to go down. It seemed that it was blocked by a terrifying force. Sun Hao stood there with his head held out a finger, facing the 10,000-meter-long giant palm. All the power was blocked by this finger, and it was difficult to go down at all. Suddenly, Kacha, the sound of an egg-shell cracking sounded. Chapter 438. Kacha! A crack appeared on the 10,000-meter-long giant palm. The crack spread quickly around in a cobweb-like pattern. Boom! There was an explosion. The 10,000-meter-long giant palm quickly exploded, collapsed into a trace of light, and disappeared. Buzz! A force quickly pounced on the four arhats. Like a golden bell, it buzzed. Puff, puff! The four arhats spat out a mouthful of blood. The golden light on their bodies quickly dimmed. They pressed their chests and looked at Sun Hao as if looking at Monster. The expression on their faces was extremely dignified. Quick! Send a message to the Buddha Nation Lord. I have already sent a message. This kid is too powerful. What should we do? We must hold him back until the king arrives. Yes. After a burst of divine sense transmission, the four arhats made a decision. Who the hell are you? Why did you come here to make trouble? An arhat pointed to Sun Hao and asked. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth and took a step forward, showing a calm look on his face. It doesn't matter who I am. The important thing is whether you choose to surrender or perish. Sun Hao released his breath, and a shocking momentum enveloped the world. The whole city was dead silent. Everyone looked at Sun Hao blankly, and their astonishment was indescribable. In the face of the four Arhats, who else in the world could speak like this? Looking at the entire human world, there were only a few. Unexpectedly, an inconspicuous monk dared to be so arrogant. Wasn't he afraid of the Buddha Nation Lord? Wasn't he afraid of Buddha? Wasn't he afraid of all the gods and Buddhists? At this moment, everyone's thoughts were in chaos. It was hard to describe their dumbfounded appearance. When the four Arhats heard this, their faces changed. The uneasiness flashed away. Then, the corners of their mouths raised, revealing an expression of controlling everything. Fellow Taoist, I think you have some skills. When we go back, I will apply to Buddha to leave you a Buddha position. What do you think? An Arhat looked at Sun Hao and said. The voice was tempting, making people not fall into it when they heard it. When everyone in the city heard this, their eyes were full of light, and they were envious. However, Buddha will give me a Buddha position? Does he deserve it? As soon as these words came out, there was dead silence all around. Everyone opened their mouths wide and mumbled for a long time without saying a word. Even the four Arhats were shocked at this moment. Those who dared to say such things were basically all dead. This brat dared to disrespect the Buddha, so he had to die. The Tathagata Buddha would definitely have divined all of this. Let's see how arrogant you can be when Buddha descends. The four Arhats looked furious as their chests heaved violently. After calming himself down, he continued speaking. Fellow Taoist, Buddha is not an existence that you can imagine. Not to mention the Gautama Buddha. Even the king of the Buddhist nation is not someone you can deal with. If you know what's good for you, come back with us and beg for forgiveness from the Buddhist nation's king. You might still have a chance to live. Otherwise, your soul will scatter and your cultivation will vanish into thin air. You better think this through clearly. The four Arhats looked at Sun Hao with a smile on their faces. Sun Hao stood in place, the corners of his mouth raised, showing an indifferent expression. He looked as if he had completely ignored them. Damn it, he's ignoring us. Don't be angry. The more he ignores us, the better. That's right. The longer we drag this out, the better it is for us. The four Arhats secretly transmitted their voices, their expressions becoming more and more smug. For a long time, Sun Hao opened his mouth and looked at the four Arhats with a smile. Why did it take so long? Where is your Buddhist nation's king? As soon as these words came out, boom, like a thunderclap in the minds of the four Arhats, their bodies trembled. A wave of uneasiness surged through their hearts. Don't be arrogant. The Buddhist nation's king will arrive soon. If you surrender now, the Buddhist nation's king will be lenient. Otherwise, it will be too late to regret your death. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth and said, with the strength of the Buddhist nation's king, it must be easy to break through the space and come here, right? It's been a quarter of an hour. Do you think he will still come? As soon as these words came out, the faces of the four Arhats showed uneasiness. They secretly took out the communication jade slip and looked at it. Their pupils shrank, and their faces changed dramatically. Not good. The news has not been sent out. This is the divine-level array formation, the heaven-deceiving array. No, this is just an ordinary immortal array, superimposed. No, this forcibly draws the power of the surrounding laws. My God, what kind of existence is he? Don't just stand there. Let's do it together. The four Arhats moved quickly in panic. Who? They sat cross-legged in the sky, and their huge bodies turned in circles in place. They muttered to themselves. Bala Bala, scriptures spewed out of their mouths and danced around them. The bodies of the four Arhats quickly merged together. A 10,000-meter-tall giant Buddha slowly condensed and formed. Behind the giant Buddha, the Buddha's light was tens of thousands of feet straight into the sky. The Buddha's voice chanted, and the world roared. It looked as if the Buddha had descended, carrying with it an unstoppable might. At this moment, everyone was stunned again, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. Many people knelt down and began to kowtow in salute. That kind of pious appearance was indescribable in words. Oh, wisps of the power of faith surged from the kneeling people and flew to the 10,000-meter tall giant Buddha. With the infusion of the power of faith, the 10,000-meter tall giant Buddha's aura became more vigorous. Sun Hao looked at this scene and shook his head secretly. Weak, too weak. Let me do it. Form is not different from emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. A series of scriptures spewed out of Sun Hao's mouth. In the blink of an eye, it was sprinkled all over the world. A huge golden Buddha with a height of 20,000 meters condensed and formed. The profound power whistled the heavens and the earth. Buzz, the huge golden Buddha stretched out his palm and grabbed the ground. The power of faith that flew up from the Buddhist cultivators in the city was grabbed by the huge golden Buddha with one hand, sent into his mouth, and swallowed all of it. Such a scene directly frightened the 4 arhats who were merged in the 10,000-meter tall golden Buddha. Snatch the power of faith? How is this possible? Such a strong power of Buddha is not weaker than the Buddha at all. Who is he? We can't even muster the strength to resist. What should we do? The 4 arhats opened their mouths wide, and their faces were trembling. I know, he is Dipankara Buddha. An arhat pointed at the huge golden Buddha with a trembling face. As soon as these words came out, the other 3 arhats' faces changed drastically, and their faces were full of horror. What? The Buddha of the past, Dipankara Buddha? Didn't he already pass away? How is this possible? He came back to life again, my God. This is not weaker than the existence of Buddha, Tathagata. It's over, it's over. The color of despair was written all over the 4 arhats. The next second, they sank into hell and fell into endless despair. Group 947782868. Looking forward to your joining. Chapter 439. Dipankara Buddha's eyes swept and stared directly at the 10,000-meter golden Buddha. At this moment, the 4 arhats who transformed into golden Buddhas sank into hell, and their power seemed to be drained. They were sweating profusely and weak. Presumptuous, Dipankara Buddha let out a light shout, shaking the world. The 10,000-meter golden Buddha cracked inch by inch like it was made of broken ice. The 4 arhats stood in place and vomited blood. They looked at Dipankara Buddha with fear on their faces. Greetings, Dipankara Buddha. The 4 arhats knelt down and kowtowed to Dipankara Buddha. Dipankara Buddha looked at the 4 arhats with an expressionless face. Humph! A cold snort blasted the ears of the 4 arhats, and their faces changed drastically. Dipankara Buddha, spare us. Buddha, we are the disciples of Buddha, Lord Tathagata. Please give face to Buddha, Lord Tathagata, and spare our lives. Dipankara Buddha, we were wrong. Please spare our lives. The 4 arhats kept kowtowing, their bodies trembling. Buddha's face? Is he worthy? Dipankara Buddha said. Boom! Like a thunderbolt from the 9th heaven, the 4 arhats trembled, and panic was written all over their faces. Dipankara, you dare to insult Buddha like this. I will fight you to the death. A dazzling golden light appeared on an arhat's body and went straight to Dipankara Buddha. Just you, are you worthy? The words were spoken. The arhat who rushed over was wrapped in a force, and his body turned into flying ash, slowly drifting away, and finally disappeared. During the whole process, Dipankara Buddha stood in place and did not move. Such a scene scared the other 3 arhats. They crawled in front of Dipankara Buddha and kept kowtowing. Buddha, please spare us. Buddha, please give us a way out. Buddha, I am willing to be your disciple. Please spare me. The 3 arhats buried their heads in front of their knees and kept begging for mercy. You dare to attack my master and still dare to beg for mercy. As soon as these words came out, silence. It was very quiet, deathly silence. Everyone in Ma city stayed in place, looking up at the sky, revealing an extremely surprised expression. The three Arhats opened their mouths wide and mumbled for a long time without saying anything. That kind of shock and stupefaction was indescribable. The master of Buddha Dapeng? Oh my God! Since when did Buddha have a master? Could it be that Dipankara Buddha's master is that little monk? It must be fake, right? Dream. It must be a dream. Buddha Dipankara's words shattered everyone's worldview. All along, they had thought that the Buddha was a supreme existence. Now, it seemed that this was not the case at all. Unexpectedly, the Buddha had a master as well. Heavenly Law Buddha is Dipankara Buddha's master? Pu Hui stared blankly at this scene, unable to react for a long time. What the F asterisk CK? Mr. is the master of Randang? 6 Ears Macaque scratched his head in shock. Young master, what kind of existence are you? Thunder Tribulation Lord looked at Sun Hao with an excited face. At this moment, Sun Hao became the focus of everyone, and everyone's eyes were fixed on him. Surprise, shock, disbelief, mystery, all kinds of expressions kept changing on everyone's faces. Die! A deafening roar awakened the three Arhats. They looked at the giant finger of Buddha Dipankara, and their faces were pale with fright, and their bodies trembled violently. Buddha, Buddha, spare my life. Spare my life. Boom! The bodies of the three Arhats burst apart and exploded into powder. When the wind blew, there was nothing left. Dead? You killed 3 Arhats with just one finger? Buddha is Buddha. This is too powerful. Buddha is so terrifying. How strong will the master of Buddha be? Absolutely unimaginable. Exclamations continued. It was not only the crowd that was surprised. At this moment, Sun Hao was also stunned in place. Dipankara Buddha called himself master? Fake, right? The Buddha formed by his chanting turned out to be Dipankara Buddha? Unexpectedly, the one who followed him turned out to be Buddha Tathagata, who was on the same level as Tathagata. In this way, when he ran amok in the 3 realms, no one dared to attack him. So I'm already invincible, Sun Hao muttered to himself, showing a look of surprise. He glanced at Dipankara Buddha and nodded with a smile. Only to see, Dipankara Buddha glanced around, and after confirming that there was nothing, he turned to look at Sun Hao and bowed. When he was about to leave, "Wait." Sun Hao stopped Dipankara Buddha. "Master, what can I do for you?" Dipankara Buddha waved his right hand, and a barrier covered the two of them. No one could hear what they said. "Your name is Dipankara?" Sun Hao asked. "Yes, master." Dipankara Buddha nodded. "Have you been following me?" Sun Hao continued to ask. "Yes, master." Dipankara Buddha said. "Are you really the Buddha who is on the same level as Buddha?" Sun Hao asked. "That was before." Dipankara Buddha's gaze swept into the distance, as if returning to countless years ago. At that time, I, Tathagata, and Maitreya were the 3 great Buddhas of Buddhism. We founded Buddhism, Dipankara Buddha said one sentence at a time. Sun Hao listened carefully and did not interrupt. Later, Tathagata was extremely ambitious and wanted to rule the 3 realms. So he secretly harmed me and Maitreya. As a result, my and Maitreya's physical bodies were destroyed, and all my cultivation was devoured by Tathagata. All I have left is this remnant soul. If it weren't for the master taking me in, I'm afraid my soul would have been scattered long ago. After following the master for so long, my soul has recovered, and my strength is also recovering rapidly. All of this is thanks to the master. After speaking, Dipankara Buddha bowed deeply to Sun Hao. "Get up. No need to be polite." Sun Hao said, "Master, I survived, but Maitreya's soul was scattered. When I recover, I will definitely teach Tathagata a lesson." Dipankara Buddha clenched his fists, and a flash of anger flashed. Compared with Tathagata now, who is stronger and who is weaker? Sun Hao asked. "Incomparable. Tathagata devoured the power of both of us. Plus, he has monopolized the Buddhist kingdom over the years. He must have broken through to the Saint Realm." Dipankara Buddha said. "Saint Realm?" Sun Hao was puzzled. "Master, above the God Emperor is the Saint Realm. Reaching that realm is truly beyond the three realms and can see many different things. Dipankara Buddha said. Hearing this, Sanha took a breath of cold air, and his face was full of surprise. Unexpectedly, there was still a realm above the God Emperor. I'm afraid the road of cultivation will never end. He must move forward step by step and reach the peak in order to protect everything. For now, it was most important to obtain the cultivation method. Do you have a God-level cultivation method on you? Sun Hao asked. Master, yes. After speaking, Tathagata Buddha waved his right hand, and two nerve cultivation methods flew to Sun Hao. Dipankara Ancient Scripture. Menstruation. Sun Hao opened the Dipankara Ancient Scripture and began to check it. The words on it, as if alive, flew quickly into Sun Hao's eyebrows and engraved in his mind. His mind began to deduce automatically. Sun Hao closed his eyes and felt all this quietly. Dipankara Buddha stared at Sun Hao blankly, his face full of doubts. The next second, Dipankara Buddha's face changed dramatically, showing incredible surprise. Chapter 440. The space trembled. An ancient bronze lamp floated in front of Sun Hao, and the pale yellow light illuminated all directions. This pale yellow light seemed to have a special power that could annihilate the darkness in people's hearts and erase the unhappiness in people's hearts. Anyone who was illuminated by the ancient lamp, at this moment, their hearts were bright, and the whole person was extremely comfortable and peaceful. Dipankara Buddha stared blankly at this scene and didn't react for a long time. The Dipankara Ancient Sutra that he created was learned in a breath in the hands of his master. Moreover, compared with the one he used, this ancient bronze lamp was like heaven and earth. There was no comparison at all. Master, you are so amazing. Dipankara Buddha looked at Sun Hao with awe. In the next second, Dipankara Buddha was even more frightened, and his heart was hit by the waves and couldn't calm down for a long time. He saw. A sound rang out. In front of Sun Hao, ancient bronze lamps floated around him. As time passed, there were more and more ancient bronze lamps. Finally, after reaching 9,999 lamps, it stopped. Nearly 10,000 ancient bronze lamps illuminated all directions, dispersing the darkness hidden in everyone's hearts. Everyone's state of mind improved rapidly at this moment. Dipankara Buddha opened his mouth wide and didn't say a complete sentence for a long time. He looked at Sun Hao as if he was looking at the Creator. The kind of worship and awe was written all over his face. Sun Hao opened his eyes and sighed secretly. Although this Dipankara Ancient Sutra was powerful, it was not suitable for him. Although he had learned it, he still couldn't use it for cultivation. Remember this incantation well. After speaking, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed at Dipankara Buddha with his right hand. A huge amount of information rushed in and quickly drilled into the brow of the burning Buddha. Sensing the information in his mind, Dipankara Buddha was extremely excited. Wonderful, just one sentence, but it wrapped my hundreds of chants and it is easier to understand, and the power used is 100 times stronger. Master, the cultivation method you modified is simply perfect and impeccable. If I cultivate it to great success, I can not only restore my strength, but I'm afraid Tathagata will definitely not be my opponent. Dipankara Buddha muttered to himself, his face full of joy. He looked at Sun Hao, and his face was full of gratitude. Then Dipankara Buddha closed his eyes and began to cultivate the improved version of the Dipankara Ancient Sutra. Let's try this book. Sun Hao took menstruation and began to open it. The handwriting on it, as if jumping out, quickly flew to Sun Hao's eyebrows. His mind worked quickly as he tried to edit the book Menstruation of the Year. After a while, Sun Hao opened his eyes, and his face showed a touch of joy. With a thought, he instantly disappeared from where he was. No, it could be said that he disappeared from the current space-time and returned to the past. Voices rang in his ears. Everything around Ma City was like a movie being played in reverse. He retracted his thoughts. Time stopped rewinding. Sun Hao was surprised to find that he had returned to half a day ago. He stood in the city, looking at everything around him like an outsider. No one could discover him. I wonder if I can change the past. Sun Hao muttered to himself, and with a move of his mind, time quickly went back again. Soon, he returned to the moment when he was about to kill Wu Ji. He looked at his other self with a solemn expression. He saw that his other self was smiling. With a move of his mind, the transparent palm in front of him clenched quickly. No, how dare you? Boom! 3 sounds rang at the same time. The moment when Wu Ji was about to be blasted into light and shadow by the transparent big hand. Sun Hao's mind moved, and a body quickly condensed and formed. Then, with another move of his mind, that figure and Wu Ji's body were swapped. Boom! The huge palm blasted the figure into light and shadow. Ah, no. Wu Ji kept screaming, but no one could hear him. He covered his face blankly, with a look of disbelief. I'm not dead. You didn't kill me? Wu Ji looked at Sun Hao, full of doubts. Sun Hao smiled slightly and pointed to his other self. Look! Looking along Sun Hao's finger, Wu Ji's pupils contracted, and his face changed dramatically. He looked at Sun Hao, and then at Sun Hao not far away, full of doubts. You went back to the past. Wu Ji muttered to himself. Sun Hao smiled slightly. Do you want to live? Yes. Wu Ji kept nodding. Then tell me, why did the 4 great arhats risk their lives to take you back? Sun Hao asked. Great Buddha, they want to take me away. In fact, there are only 2 reasons. First, kill people to silence them. Second, the power of faith of Ma City is now under my control. It is still in my hands. After speaking, Wu Ji took out a bag and handed it to Sun Hao. Power of faith? Sun Hao opened the lid and saw hundreds of white stones the size of fingernails. The light on it flowed with a special power. This must be the condensation of the power of faith. As soon as the stone touched his hand, it all turned into a wisp of white light that was invisible to the naked eye and poured into his body. Sun Hao closed his eyes and quietly absorbed the white light. For a long time, he opened his eyes, and a touch of joy appeared on his face. Although I don't feel much, I feel that my strength has increased by at least 10%. It seems that this power of faith can enhance my own strength. Sun Hao muttered to himself, and his face showed a touch of light. This Buddha's kingdom is a good place to collect the power of faith. Sun Hao thought. Absorbed all of it? My God. Wu Ji looked at Sun Hao, stunned in place, and did not react for a long time. A piece of faith stone was enough for him to absorb for 100 years. Even the 4 great Vajra needed 10 years to absorb 1 piece. Buddha also needed a year. Even Bodhisattva, it would take a month. Apart from the Gautama Buddha, who else could absorb hundreds of faith stones at the same time? Could he be Buddha? Thinking like this, Wu Ji raised his eyebrows and hurriedly knelt down. He crawled in front of Sun Hao, shivering. So, you're just their slave? Sun Hao asked. Wu Ji's face was bitter. Great Buddha. No, Buddha. I am not a slave. I am Buddha's messenger. You can rest assured. I will listen to you and do everything well. This seat is not Buddha. What are you afraid of? Sun Hao said. You aren't Buddha, Tathagata. Wu Ji secretly wiped his cold sweat, showing the joy of surviving a disaster. Buddha, you know, how can we compare to slaves? We are worse than pigs and dogs. For tens of thousands of years, I have been trapped here, and if I am not careful, my soul will fly away, and my body will disappear. You don't know how evil Buddha is, treating all living beings as ants. Chapter 441. You stay here for the time being. When I return to the human world, I will let you out. Sun Hao threw Wu Ji into the soul space. With a wave of his right hand, a restriction enveloped a radius of 100 miles. Within this restriction, Wu Ji could only stay here and could not leave. Thank you, Buddha. Wu Ji's eyes were full of gratitude. Facing Sun Hao, he knelt 3 times and kowtowed 9 times. Although it was very boring to stay in this cold and empty space, but it was already a great fortune to be able to survive. Wu Ji looked around with a face full of doubts. Isn't this space too big? If there are stars, this is completely a cosmic starry sky. Where is this? Could it be the soul space? Thinking of this, Wuji's pupils shrank, and his face changed dramatically. Such a boundless soul space. Looking at the entire three realms, I am afraid no one can have it. Wuji's thoughts moved and sank into his soul space. Looking at his hundreds of cubic meters of soul space, Wuji's face was full of bitterness. A sense of disparity between a grain of sand and a superstar surged all over his body. This Buddha turned out to be such an existence. Buddha, from today on, you are my master. As long as you ask, I, Wuji, will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. Wuji muttered to himself with a firm face. Seeing the change in Wuji's expression, Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and his thoughts moved, instantly disappearing in place. When he appeared again, he returned to the present. At this moment, Dipankara Buddha was cultivating with a cautious look. Sun Hao looked at him, and the corner of his mouth raised a faint smile. Who? He stretched out his finger and pointed at Dipankara Buddha's eyebrows. A seven-color divine essence quickly submerged into Dipankara Buddha's body, covering his whole body. The corner of Dipankara Buddha's mouth raised, revealing a smile. The color of comfort was written all over his face. After a while, buzz, there was a vibration. In front of Dipankara Buddha, an ancient bronze lamp condensed and formed. A pale yellow flame slowly rose, illuminating the entire world. Soon after, buzz, there was another vibration, and an ancient bronze lamp condensed and formed. Less than a moment, 108 ancient bronze lamps floated around Dipankara Buddha. The shocking power shrouded the world. Dipankara Buddha opened his eyes, and his face showed uncontrollable surprise. He looked at Sun Hao with gratitude and admiration written all over his face. Thank you, Buddha, Dipankara said. No need to be so polite. Sun Hao smiled and nodded. Buzz, with a finger of his right hand, the chant of chronological period flew out of Sun Hao's fingertips and poured into the space between Buddha Ronding's eyebrows. Dipankara Buddha once again stood rooted to the ground, his face filled with disbelief and surprise. Master, this, Randang was extremely excited. He did not look like Buddha at all. All right, you can practice this later. I ask you, do you know where the transmission channel to the Heavenly Dipper Galaxy is? Sun Hao asked. Master, Rulai must have changed the teleportation channel in Rulai's Buddhist kingdom. However, within the Thunder Temple, there are passageways that lead to all places. Buddha Dipankara said. Thunder Sound Temple? Sun Hao asked. Master, the Thunder Monastery is at the end of the Buddhist road. The monarch should be there. With your strength, the leader of the Buddhist nation poses no threat to you, but Buddha Dipankara hesitated. But what? Sun Hao asked. However, I am afraid that Rulai will send people to the lower realm. In that case, it will be troublesome. Buddha Dipankara said, Send people to the lower realm? Will Rulai go to the lower realm personally? Sun Hao asked. Rulai can't go to the lower realm personally. This world can no longer withstand his pressure and will collapse. At most, he will only send down an illusory clone. Buddha Dipankara said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. It seems that this Buddhist road must be explored by himself. Okay, then you can step back. Sun Hao said. Yes, master. Buddha Dipankara looked around, and then the corner of his mouth raised. His body collapsed, turned into wisps of light, and disappeared. Sun Hao slowly floated down, stood for a long time, and glanced at everyone. Greetings, Buddha. The neat roar shook heaven and earth. On everyone's face, there was a pious expression. Wisps of faith power went straight up and flew into Sun Hao's eyebrows. Sun Hao closed his eyes and quietly felt the power of faith. He was secretly shocked. He could clearly sense that his strength was growing over time. If this goes on, in less than a year, his strength will inevitably double. If the entire Buddhist kingdom of Rulai believed in himself, to what extent could his strength grow? It was simply unimaginable. Since you all worship me, you are my disciples, and you will be protected by this seat. This seat's Dharma name is Dharma Heaven. You all sit cross-legged. Sun Hao's voice, like thunder from the ninth heaven, shook heaven and earth. Everyone sat cross-legged on the ground, looking at Sun Hao with an excited face. Pervert, emptiness is not different from color. Sun Hao sat in the sky and opened his mouth to recite scriptures. Hundreds of millions of scriptures, like butterflies flying all over the sky, enveloped the entire world. These scriptures began to circle around everyone. I actually condensed a Buddhist seal. Buddha's means are unimaginable. My golden body is complete. Many people clenched their fists, and their bodies trembled with excitement. Such a voice kept stimulating the nerves of others. They also sat down quietly and began to absorb the power of Buddha. Buddha seals and golden bodies quickly condensed on their bodies. Everyone's strength was rising rapidly. At the same time, their power of faith rose. At this moment, Sun Hao was like the Lord God in their minds, filling their whole hearts. As their strength rose, the power of faith also became stronger. For a long time, Sun Hao stopped chanting. They looked at the scriptures all over the city and nodded secretly. After waiting for a long time, everyone recovered in turn. I actually condensed 1024 Buddha seals. Who else? Thunder Tribulation Lord shouted excitedly. Damn fatty, I condensed 4,900 and didn't say anything. What are you proud of? Six-eared macaque said. You are bragging, cows are flying in the sky. As soon as Thunder Tribulation Lord finished speaking, he was stunned again. He looked at the Buddha seals around Six-eared macaque, opened his mouth wide, and murmured for a long time without saying a word. You cheated. Cheated? Then you take one move from me. Six-eared macaque said. Don't I admit defeat. Thunder Tribulation Lord looked fearful and took 2 steps back. We flew up and bowed deeply to Sun Hao. Thank you, Heavenly Buddha. We saluted. No need. Sun Hao looked at Hui and nodded slightly. Your perception is good. This city will be handed over to you. I don't know what you think. What? Hui was shocked, and her face showed incredible surprise. Why don't you want to? Sun Hao asked. No, Lord Buddha. How could I possibly work for Lord Buddha? Buddha, don't worry. I will take care of everything. Hui knelt in front of Sun Hao and bowed deeply. You don't have to go on the Buddhist path. You do a good job. This seat will leave you a seat. Sun Hao said, Thank you, Buddha. Hui's body trembled slightly with excitement, and she didn't calm down for a long time. Chapter 442. Tathagata Buddhist Land. A boundless black mountain range. Above the mountain range, black clouds shot into the sky. On the east side of the black mountain range, it was as if an axe had cleaved down. At the bottom of the cliff, there was a small path that could fit 2 people. It was like a cave that led to the inside of the mountain range. At a glance, it was pitch black, and one could not see the end at all. In the small path, black silk surged like a monster bearing its fangs and claws, making one's scalp go numb. This inconspicuous small path was the Buddhist road. However, at this moment, no one dared to barge in on the Buddhist road. On the west side of the Buddhist road was a basin. The basin was so big that it was boundless. In the basin, there was a huge city in the shape of a circle. It was called the Buddhist city. In the Buddhist city, there was an endless stream of people. The sound of hawkers, yelling, shouting, the sound was endless. It looked like an incomparably prosperous super city. On this day, stop! A loud shout drowned out all the other sounds. Looking over, everyone had a puzzled look. A man was seen running away at high speed. The man's body was covered with a few bloodstains that had dyed his clothes thoroughly. This man was none other than the Evil Suppression Alliance hunting team leader, Wu Han. Behind Wu Han, dozens of men quickly caught up. Each of them was ferocious, as if they wanted to eat Wu Han up. Stop if you run again. I'll skin you alive today. A man roared from behind. However, not only did Wu Han not stop, he even sped up and soon disappeared in front of them. Dozens of men also quickly chased and soon disappeared. Everyone looked at this scene in a daze, puzzled. Who are they? Why are they chasing that person? I sensed their aura just now. That group of people are not human. What? Not human? Which race are they? Dragon race. The moment this was said, there was dead silence. Everyone's face was filled with fear. The dragon race actually came to the Buddhist land? The dragon race is chasing after the human race? What's the reason? It's definitely not a good thing. We'd better mind our own business and not get ourselves into trouble. Nothing will happen if we go take a look. Let's go, let's go. Soon, quite a few people followed him. Soon after, on a square, Wuhan stood on the spot, looking around warily. They saw hundreds of men surrounded him from all directions. Buzz, in the sky, several Dharma treasures blocked the air, preventing Wuhan from escaping. They formed a triangle and slowly surrounded him. Every step they took was firm and steady, not daring to be the slightest bit careless. Brat, you dare to eat my clan? Today, you will die for sure. A man pointed at Wuhan and said. As soon as these words came out, like a bolt of lightning, everyone was dumbfounded. Their jaws seemed to be on the verge of dropping. What? Eat my people? Doesn't that mean that person ate a dragon? Did I hear wrongly? That seems to be the case. Holy shit, he actually dared to eat the dragon race. Who else in this world would dare to do that? Hiss, the sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air rose and fell. Many people secretly wiped the cold sweat off their foreheads. They looked at Wuhan with admiration and worry. Alas, this kid actually dared to eat a dragon. Now no one could save him. It's over, we're dead. No matter what, his courage alone is worthy of my admiration. Keep your voice down. If they hear you, you'll die. What are you afraid of? This is not the human world. This is the Buddha kingdom. The sound of discussion continued, and the entire scene was like a pot of boiling porridge. Not far away, a group of Buddhist guards looked at these dragons and turned around one after another, as if they did not see them. In their eyes, there was deep fear. If you're not afraid of death, just come. Wuhan released his breath, and rays of golden light surged on his body. A Buddha seal enveloped his body, protecting his whole body. Looking at the Buddha seal on Wuhan's body, the group of men surrounding him all had a look of fear. Go, a sound rang out. 10 people rushed forward together. In the process of rushing over, each of them used their own unique skills, joined forces, and went straight to Wuhan. Just in time, Wuhan snorted coldly, raised his fist, aimed at the 10 men who rushed forward, and blasted over. Boom! The earth shook and the mountains shook. The 10 men flew out like broken kites and fell heavily to the ground. Puff! Wuhan spat out a mouthful of blood because of the recoil force. He stood in place, looking at the hundreds of men around him, the corners of his mouth raised, revealing a scarlet smile. A group of worms, come on. Wuhan glared at them. His aura was shocking. He took a step out, and the airwave shook. Buzz! The people around him took a step back one after another, revealing a trace of fear. Little worms, bullying thousands of races. Only you can eat other races, and not other races can eat you? How can there be such a good thing? The weak are prey to the strong. It has never changed. Wuhan's voice was like thunder, blasting in everyone's mind for a long time. What are you afraid of? He is already an arrow at the end of its flight. There is nothing to be afraid of. Kill. A group of men moved together and went straight to Wuhan. The terrifying might made people's scalp tingle and cold sweat flowed. Wuhan looked at this scene. Plop! His knees fell uncontrollably, and his whole body was sweating profusely. It seemed that he was extremely weak. He looked up at the sky, and his thoughts returned to Purple Sunstar. 2 lines of tears slowly fell down. Young master, I am incompetent and fail to help you get the cultivation method. I am really ashamed. If there's a next life, I hope to continue to be your chess piece. After saying that, Wuhan closed his eyes. Don't kill him, restrain him, pull out his tendons, and skin him on the spot. Go! A group of people, like wolves and tigers, went straight to Wuhan, seeing that they were about to pounce on Wuhan. At this time, stop! An earth-shattering roar sounded. A wave of air was born out of thin air. With Wuhan as the center, it swept in all directions. Boom! The people who pounced on Wuhan, their bodies flew out like a kite with a broken string. They fell to the ground, and they were dizzy. Such a scene directly stunned everyone in place. They looked at this scene in a daze, and their faces were full of disbelief. What's going on? Such a terrifying power, this strength, at least an 8th grade demigod. That kid actually has this kind of strength. Doubt was written on everyone's face. Suddenly, who? An icy cold intent shrouded from the sky, sweeping the entire city. At this moment, everyone seemed to be in the cold winter, and their whole bodies trembled uncontrollably. Look! An exclamation sounded. Following this voice, everyone looked up at the sky, and their pupils couldn't help but shrink, and their faces were full of surprise. They saw a woman in a light blue gauze floating in the sky. Her skin was like cream, and it was overflowing with luster. That kind of high and mighty feeling with an aura that made people unable to approach. She looked like a goddess from heaven, so beautiful that it was suffocating. This person was none other than Mu Bing. She stared at Wuhan, and her aura was released, and the pressure was monstrous. My people are also someone that you few reptiles can touch. Chapter 443. Mu Bing stood in the sky, stretched out her finger, and pointed downwards. Gotcha! The sound of eggshells cracking rang out. Several treasures blocking the sky cracked one by one. Puff! The hundreds of dragons below all spurted blood from their mouths, their faces full of fear. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on Mu Bing. Boss! Wuhan looked at Mu Bing, his body trembling with excitement. I didn't expect you to still be alive, boss. You are arrogant and despotic. Do you have any last words? Mu Bing looked at the crowd of dragons and said indifferently. Her voice echoed between heaven and earth, clearly entering everyone's ears. Listening to her words, she wants to destroy these dragons? No way. The dragon race is the ruler of the world after all. If she does this, she will definitely die. Does she really dare to destroy these dragons? I don't believe it. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Mu Bing. The people of the dragon race also looked at Mu Bing at this moment, revealing a look of disbelief. Little ant, how dare you be arrogant and despotic in front of my clan? Today, you must hand over your life here. Ant, you really don't know how to write the word death. The group of dragons pointed at Mu Bing and scolded her. Mu Bing smiled coldly, stretched out her finger unhurriedly, pointed at the group of dragons, and pointed over. Buzz! The sky trembled, and the sun and moon changed color. Howl! An earth-shattering roar resounded throughout the world. Wisps of icy cold air flew out of Mu Bing's fingertips, forming hundreds of ice dragons, and pounced straight at the group of dragons. The icy, cold pressure, like the Milky Way pouring down, enveloped the world. At this moment, the group of dragons sank into hell, their bodies sweating profusely. Fine beads of sweat overflowed from their foreheads, and their faces were trembling. Quickly transform into your original body. A roar jolted all the dragons awake. They moved quickly. However, even after exhausting all their methods, they could not transform into their original bodies. Their strength, as if it was imprisoned, could not move at all. Their voices trembled as they stared blankly at the hundreds of ice dragons in the sky, revealing a look of despair, seeing that these ice dragons were about to pounce on them. At this time, boom, boom, a series of explosions rang out. The ice dragons that were half an inch above their heads all shattered into pieces, turning into wisps of cool air that fell on their heads. A wave of coldness scared these dragon clansmen until they shivered. Such a scene stunned everyone in the Buddha city. They turned their heads and looked around, their faces full of doubt. What's going on? Why do they all collapse? What the hell happened? Suddenly, daring to eat my clan, daring to exterminate my clan, you're quite capable. A female voice rang out. His voice wasn't loud, but it was overbearing. Everyone raised their heads to look, and their pupils constricted as their expressions changed drastically. Who is she? What a terrifying pressure. Peak demigod realm. The pressure of the dragon bloodline is too terrifying. She's the Dragon Clan's genius, Long Yuejiao. I didn't expect her to come. My God, she's Long Yuejiao, ranked 99th on the heaven list? What? A genius on the heaven list actually came to Rulai, Buddhist kingdom? Cries of astonishment could be heard continuously. The entire place was in an uproar. More people had puzzled looks on their faces. What's the heaven list? What? You haven't even heard of the heaven list? You're too backward. That's right. The heaven list records the 100 strongest geniuses in the human world who are under 10,000 years old. In that case, this Long Yuejiao isn't even 10,000 years old yet. Of course, it's said that she's only 5,000 years old now. In a few thousand years, her ranking will definitely reach the top 10. I didn't expect that I would be so lucky to see such a genius. Everyone looked at Long Yuejiao, their eyes full of admiration. Hearing this, Long Yuejiao's expression didn't change at all. She looked at the blue dress on her body, and then looked at the light blue dress on Mu Bing's body. A hint of displeasure flashed across her eyes. They were wearing the same clothes. Mu Bing was also looking at Long Yuejiao with a hint of fear on her face. There's the aura of my clan on your body, and there's a lot of it. It seems that you've eaten a lot of my clan. Tell me, how do you want to die? Long Yuejiao looked at Mu Bing and said faintly. Her voice wasn't loud and very calm. However, it was overbearing and unquestionable. Mu Bing smiled coldly, stretched out her palm, and pressed forward. Buzz, heaven and earth trembled, whistling incessantly. The terrifying power seemed to be able to tear the sky and split the earth. In Mu Bing's palm, a blue dragon quickly drilled out and pounced toward Long Yuejiao. Overestimating yourself, Long Yuejiao coldly snorted and also stretched out her right hand. Huff! A golden dragon flew out from her right hand, aimed at the blue dragon, and bit it. Boom! The sound of explosions kept ringing. The blue dragon directly exploded into powder. The terrifying power didn't diminish in the slightest, and it blasted toward Mu Bing. Seeing this scene, Mu Bing's face changed dramatically, and without thinking, she quickly retreated. However, it was too late. Boom! The terrifying power blasted Mu Bing's body. Mu Bing's body kept spinning in the air, and it took a long time to stop. She stood in place, looking at Long Yuejiao, revealing a look of fear. Can't withstand a single blow. Long Yuejiao coldly smiled, contempt written all over her face, kneeled down and apologized to this seat, and this seat can consider giving you a quick death. Mu Bing smiled slightly. Do you think I'm just one person? The words just fell. Buzz, several roars rang out. A figure stood in the sky, appearing around Long Yuejiao. I haven't eaten for a long time, and I finally have dragon meat to eat. Su Yiling touched her shriveled belly, looking at Long Yuejiao with a greedy look. Humph! A little reptile dares to be so arrogant. Xian Yuanshe held a long sword, with an outstanding temperament. She looked at Long Yuejiao, and only cold, killing intent burst out of her eyes. A little reptile, the three of them are enough. Let's just watch the show. Zhongli Lang stood in the sky with his arms crossed, revealing a calm expression. Dozens of other people also stood beside Zhongli Lang, looking like they were watching a show. Such a scene strongly stimulated the eyes of everyone below. My God, so many high-grade demigods? When was it so easy to become a demigod? The lowest is a 7th grade demigod, and there are even 9th grade demigods. This time, who will be the winner? In the Buddha city, everyone stared blankly at this scene, motionless. Long Yuejiao looked at Mu Bing and the other two. A touch of fear flashed. Buzz! She reacted extremely quickly and forcefully supported herself. Boom! The clothes on her body shattered into pieces. Before waiting for people to react, she turned into a 100,000 meters long golden dragon. The earth-shattering might could tear heaven and earth. Phew! The golden light was like a waterfall, rushing down, enveloping the entire world. Such a scene made everyone's scalp tingle, and cold sweat flowed. My God, a great success golden body, too terrifying. This golden body coupled with the dragon race's flesh, no one can move at all. This time, when the three of them attack her, it's just scratching an itch, right? The next second, everyone's face changed dramatically, full of disbelief. Chapter 444. Roar. With a roar, the earth shook and the mountains shook. A Taotai emerged from behind Su Yiling. The appearance of swallowing the sky and swallowing the earth made everyone dumbfounded and sweating profusely. Everyone murmured for a long time, without saying a word, not waiting for them to react. Buzz, heaven and earth trembled. A 100,000-meter long, giant sword floated in the sky. That kind of momentum that tore everything roared. Chirp. Immediately afterward, another roar sounded. A huge ice phoenix emerged in the sky. The icy aura sprinkled all over the world, as if to freeze the world. A sword, a Taotai, and an ice phoenix were like three giant beasts in a triangular position, surrounding the golden dragon. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's eyeballs. For a while, they couldn't calm down. Howl! A dragon roar shook the sky. The golden dragon took the lead and pounced on the ice phoenix. Who? The ice phoenix opened its mouth and spat out infinite icy air, enveloping the golden dragon in an instant. The speed of its rush slowed down by 50% in an instant. Boom! Boom! The golden dragon struggled frantically. Every time it vibrated, it made the world tremble and the space shattered. It kept switching between the state of repair and fragmentation. Buzz, the air trembled. The giant sword aimed at the golden dragon and slashed down. Boom! The world trembled. The golden dragon's whole body made a loud noise, and the scales on its body cracked inch by inch. Howl! A deafening wail rang out. The golden dragon turned around and bit at the giant sword. However, what waited for her was the bloody mouth of Taotai. Wow! With a bite, flesh and blood flew everywhere. A dragon's claw was bitten off. The golden dragon kept twisting in the sky and changed into a human form. Blood covered the whole body like a bloody man, extremely miserable, who a golden line flew out of the wound and enveloped Long Yuejiao. Soon, the arm that was swallowed by Taodai grew out quickly, and the skin on her body recovered quickly. In less than a moment, it was restored to its original state. However, these that had just been restored did not have the previous strength at all. She stood in midair, looking at the three giant beasts, and her expression changed. Am I going to die here today? Are we going to be eaten by those ants? No, no. Our dragon clan is invincible. Do they have the qualifications? Unwillingness was written all over his face. Any last words? Mu Bing looked at Long Yuejiao and said indifferently, Miss Mu Bing, don't waste your breath on her. Such a big dragon is enough for me to eat for a few days. Su Yiling touched her belly, and her eyes were full of light. Kill her. Xian Yuan Shi took a step forward, enveloped by sword intent. At this moment, Long Yuejiao's body sank into hell, unable to move at all. Her face was filled with despair. She opened her mouth, unable to speak. Finally, he closed his eyes and quietly waited for death. Goodbye, father, Long Yuejiao muttered to herself. She closed her eyes and remained motionless. Kill! With a soft shout, Xian Yuan Shi's thoughts moved. The huge sword that covered the sky rapidly shrank, turning into a normal-sized sword. Then, it rapidly slashed at Long Yuejiao. It looked like it was about to slash Long Yuejiao. At this moment, presumptuous! A light shout shook heaven and earth. Boom! The long sword that Xian Yuan Shi used shattered into powder inch by inch. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out of Xian Yuan Shi's mouth. Her body flew out upside down and fell directly to the ground, exploding into dust. Such a scene frightened everyone to the point of stupefaction. Everyone stared blankly at the sky, revealing a puzzled look. Oh, a figure walked out of the ripples. He was a man with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, very handsome. The demigod peak aura surged up from the man's body, enveloping heaven and earth. At this moment, Everyone in the Buddha city felt as if they had fallen into hell, and their bodies trembled violently. Their eyes were full of fear. Who is he? This pressure is too terrifying. There is the aura of the dragon race. I know. He is Dragon Fong. Dragon Fong? He is Dragon Fong, ranked 9th on the heaven list. It is said that Dragon Fong has killed a middle god. Is this true? Yes, 5,000 years ago, a wounded middle god was killed by him. 5,000 years ago, he could kill a middle god. Wouldn't it be even more terrifying now? Everyone looked at Dragon Fong in a daze, shock and surprise written all over their faces. He is Dragon Fong? That's impossible. Dragon Fong has never heard of practicing Buddhism. Why is he here? Then there's only one reason. He came for Long Yuejiao. It seems that he likes Long Yuejiao. The exclamations sounded constantly, and the entire scene exploded. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Dragon Fong. For these, Dragon Fong did not take it to heart. He just shouted softly, "Get lost." This sound, with terrifying power, whistled directly on Mu Bing and Su Yiling. The two of their bodies flew out uncontrollably. Boom! Boom! They landed on the ground and exploded into a cloud of dust. There was no power to fight at all. This appearance was like a chicken fighting an eagle. There was no power to struggle at all. Yuejiao, are you okay? Dragon Fong looked at Long Yuejiao with a look of infatuation. Dragon Fong, don't worry about my business. Long Yuejiao roared, shaking Dragon Fong's body. Yuejiao, you're going to die. How can I not care? Dragon Fong said, whether I die or not has nothing to do with you. Long Yuejiao roared. Yuejiao, why bother? Dragon Fong said, why bother? Ha! Long Yuejiao looked up to the sky and laughed. Dragon Fong, don't think I don't know what you were planning. You want to get promoted through me? No way. Yuejiao, it hurts me to think like this. Dragon Fong revealed a dispirited look. You know I like you. Continue pretending. Don't think I don't know. Big brother Long, he was killed by you. Get lost, my life and death don't need you to care. Big brother Long, he soon? I will come to see you. 2 lines of tears rolled down Long Yuejiao's face. Yuejiao, I really didn't. Dragon Fong looked at Long Yuejiao's heartless look, waved his hand, and was powerless to speak. An ominous glint flashed in his eyes. His gaze swept across and directly stared at Zhongli Lang and the others in the sky. This stare was like the stare of a fearsome beast from hell. Zhongli Lang and the others' expressions changed, and their bodies uncontrollably trembled. They looked at Dragon Fong with faces full of fear. It's you ants who dare to harm my Yuejiao. Go to hell. Dragon Fong let out a roar, stretched out his right hand, and grabbed forward. Buzz! The sky trembled. A sky-covering dragon claw slapped towards Zhongli Lang and the others. Space collapsed. Boundless pressure swept down. Zhongli Lang and the others seemed to be imprisoned, unable to move at all. They stared blankly at the sky-covering dragon claw in the sky, their faces full of despair. Chapter 445. Buzz, the sky-covering dragon claw stretched down from the sky, aiming at Zhongli Lang and the others and grabbed down. Seeing this scene, Zhongli Lang and the others all revealed a look of despair. Boom! There was a loud noise. Heaven and earth trembled. Boundless waves of air whistled in all directions. Boom! The sky-covering dragon claw directly burst into powder. Really a disgrace to my clan. A sound rang out, waking everyone up with a start. He looked at the sky and could not help but frown, only to see, in the sky, a man in white leisurely came. His calm expression was like a god-king who controlled everything. This person was A.O. Lai, who had transformed from a unicorn. Dragon Fong looked at A.O. Lai, his face revealing a trace of fear. Easily breaking his move, the strength of the person who came was definitely not simple. You are. Dragon Fong looked at A.O. Lai and asked, who I am is not important. What's important is that if you dare to attack this seat's friends again, die. A.O. Lai said. Hearing these words, Dragon Fong's chest stagnated, and he did not say a word. He glanced at Long Yuejiao from the corner of his eyes, his expression changing. Coward! Long Yuejiao muttered to herself, revealing a look of disdain. Seeing this scene, Dragon Fong clenched his teeth. I am not a coward. Dare to stop this seat from killing ants. You go to hell for this seat. Dragon Fong roared, his voice shaking out and lingering for a long time. The aura on his body soared rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, it increased several times. Buzz, Dragon Fong transformed into his original body, hundreds of thousands of meters long, extending all the way to the depths of the void, unable to see the end at all. Light cyan scales emitted a metallic luster, looking indestructible. Two sharp, giant dragon horns seemed to be able to tear the world and destroy the sky. Seeing this scene, the faces of the people below changed drastically. My God, that's an ancient great azure dragon. What? Dragon Fong's original body is an ancient great azure dragon? Didn't this kind of dragon perish long ago? No, this is formed by the power of the bloodline. It's just temporary. So, Dragon Fong has the bloodline of an ancient great azure dragon, worthy of being ranked 9th on the heaven list. Amazing. Exclamations sounded continuously. Everyone stared blankly at Dragon Fong, admiring him. Roar! Dragon Fong threw his head back and roared. His voice was like thunder, shaking the entire area, causing the color of the sky to change. The void trembled incessantly, as if it was afraid of him. Dragon Fong extended his sky-covering claws and slammed them down on Ao Lai. It looked like Ao Lai was about to be smashed into pieces. At this moment, Buzz, there was a tremor. A terrifying force stopped Dragon Fong's claws from moving. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't struggle. In the next second, Dragon Fong's heart sank to hell, and his body trembled violently. A fear that came from his bones spread throughout his body. This scene was like a bloodline pressure. Dragon Fong looked up. His pupils shrank, and his body trembled. How is this possible? They saw. The silhouette of a dragon god appeared behind Ao Lai. This phantom was very plain, but it possessed a shocking might. It could crush all of Dragon Teeth's means. In front of this dragon god phantom, Dragon Fong did not have the strength to fight at all. The dragon god soul, my ancestor, F***CK. I can actually see the dragon god soul. What kind of existence is he? This is really unseen and unheard of. The exclamations kept exploding. Everyone looked at Ao Lai blankly, their faces full of surprise. Phew! Dragon Fong's body changed rapidly, uncontrollably, and finally turned into a human form, kneeling in front of Ao Lai. Say, Senior, I was rude. Please spare this lowly one's life. Dragon Fong crawled in front of Ao Lai, shivering. Ao Lai looked at Dragon Fong, his face full of cold, killing intent. Dare to attack my friends. You still have the face to beg for mercy? Ao Lai said faintly. Senior, I really didn't know they were your friends. If I knew, I wouldn't dare, even if I had 10,000 guts. I beg you, spare my life. Dragon Fong knelt in front of Ao Lai and kept kowtowing. Humph, go to hell. Ao Lai snorted coldly and reached out his hand to grab forward. Buzz, a transparent dragon claw, condensed and formed, grabbing Dragon Fong's neck in an instant. Dragon Fong's pupils constricted, and his face changed drastically. Panic was written all over his face, seeing that he was about to crush Dragon Fong. At this time, stop! A light cry reverberated throughout heaven and earth. The transparent dragon claw that Ao Lai used directly burst apart. Whoa! A series of scriptures spread down from the sky. Looking up, he saw a 10,000-meter-tall, giant Buddha slowly descending from the void. Golden light sprinkled down like a waterfall. It looked incomparably sacred. The giant Buddha sat cross-legged in the void, looking at Ao Lai. In its eyes, a hint of killing intent flashed past. How can you all be insolent in the Buddha city? Let this seat enlighten you. Finished talking, the giant Buddha reached out a sky-covering large hand and slapped down at Ao Lai. The terrifying power roared straight to the 9 heavens. When the Buddha city people saw this scene, their expressions changed incessantly. The pressure of a middle-level god. My god, this Buddhist city actually has a middle-level god. Is this a middle-level god? Too terrifying. I feel like I'm going to die. The difference between a half-deity and a middle-level god is actually so great. Everyone muttered, looking at the sky, their faces full of fear. The sky-covering large hand did not slow down, pouncing straight towards Ao Lai. Ao Lai stood in place. His expression changed slightly. Ao Lai roared loudly, gritting his teeth and persevering. However, the pressure was getting stronger and stronger. His entire body was trembling violently. As the palm fell, a crack cracked open on Ao Lai's body. Blood flew out from the crack. "Junior brother, don't be afraid. Old son, will help you." A roar descended from the sky. Immediately after, a giant rod smashed straight down from the sky. Boom! It smashed directly on the sky-covering large hand, shaking until the air was distorted. Insolent, the giant Buddha snorted coldly, his palms stretched out and grasped, instantly holding the giant rod in his hand. Then, with a twist and a pull, the giant rod moved along with his palm. Goku's expression changed drastically, hurriedly letting go of the golden cudgel. However, bang! Without waiting for Goku to react, the finger covering the sky pointed at him and flicked. Goku's body flew backward, spinning countless times in the sky before stopping. The land of Buddhism. How can you all blaspheme? The giant Buddha's eyes seemed to see billions of miles away, reaching out a giant hand and grabbing forward. Buzz! The sky shook with layers of ripples, and the giant hand penetrated directly and disappeared. When the giant hand pulled back, what was caught in the hand were three figures. These three figures were Zhu Beiji, Sha Wujing, and Ning Mingji. Is this old man real eye? It's too scary. Zhu Beiji's face was full of fear. "No, he's just a little Buddha," Sha Wujing said. "Master, what should we do?" Zhu Beiji asked. Ning Mingji opened his mouth and didn't say a word. "Come back." The giant Buddha spat out a word. Suddenly, Ao Lai and Goku's bodies flew out and fell into the giant hand. "This seat will begin to enlighten you. Be a good person in your next life." After speaking, the giant Buddha clenched his palm hard. Chapter 446. West of Buddha City. Buzz! The sky shook with layers of ripples, and three figures walked out of it. These three people were Sun Hao, Thunder Tribulation Lord, and Six-Eared Macaque. Dong dong. Just standing in the sky, Sun Hao pressed his violently beating heart, showing an uncomfortable expression. Come on. A call sounded in his mind. He listened carefully, but he couldn't hear anything. Who the hell is calling me? Why can I hear it here again? Sun Hao frowned, showing an uncomfortable expression. Young master, what's wrong with you? Thunder Tribulation Lord came up with a worried face. I'm fine. Sun Hao waved his hand, took a deep breath, and looked ahead. With a sweep of his divine sense, the 5,000 miles were all in his mind. Compared with the previous 1,000 miles, the scanning diameter was 10 times larger. All of this was thanks to those mental powers. After a while, Sun Hao retracted his divine sense, showing a trace of anger on his face. Let's go. One step out, and the three instantly disappeared in place. Over the Buddha city, Buzz, the world trembled. The giant Buddha's hand clenched quickly. 5 giant fingers, like Optimus Prime, blasted at Ning Mingji and the others. Sensing the irresistible power, Ning Mingji and the others closed their eyes and waited quietly for death. However, after waiting for a while, there was no reaction. Everyone opened their eyes in doubt, showing a puzzled look, only to see fine beads of sweat overflowed on the giant Buddha's forehead, and a touch of panic was written on his face. He clenched his teeth and clenched it hard, but he found that he couldn't clench it even after exhausting all his methods. Who is it? Get out of here for this seat. The giant Buddha's voice was like thunder rolling out. However, the giant Buddha looked for a long time and found nothing. On the giant Buddha's face, there was more and more fear. However, the giant Buddha looked for a long time and found nothing. Suddenly, He raised his eyebrows and looked at his palm, and his face changed slightly. He didn't know when a monk stood in the palm. At this moment, the monk was looking at Ningmingji and the others and said, "Are you all right? Master, you are?" Ningmingji and the others were also full of doubts. Hearing these words, the monk looked at himself, and his mind moved, instantly changing into Sun Hao's original appearance. He was dressed in white and looked very calm. Every single one of his movements carried his own Tao rhythm, which was pleasing to the eye. "Young master." Seeing Sun Hao, Ningmingji and the others showed uncontrollable surprise. Thump, thump. One by one, they knelt in front of Sun Hao. "Greetings, young master." Their voices were in unison, shaking the heavens. "Don't stand on ceremony." Sun Hao nodded slightly and glanced around. Phew! Su Yiling, Mu Bing, and Xian Yuanshi flew up. His injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a moment, he was back to normal. Not only that, but the strength of the three of them also increased rapidly. "Greetings, young master." The three women walked to Sun Hao and bowed slightly. "Don't stand on ceremony." Sun Hao nodded slightly. Phew! One figure after another flew quickly and landed in front of Sun Hao. Zhongli Lang, Xin Yuan, Wu Han. These dozens of figures were all elites of the Evil Suppression Alliance. Everyone had been to Sun Hao's mansion. Looking at Sun Hao, everyone's face was filled with uncontrollable joy. Subsequently, plop, he knelt down and kowtowed in salute. "Greetings, young master." Their voices were in unison, shaking the heavens. Such a scene directly awakened everyone. Everyone's eyes were staring at Sun Hao blankly, their faces full of puzzlement. Who is he? Why do so many half-gods have to kneel to him? What? There are no fluctuations of power, and he's still just immortal? Fake, right? Dream. This must be a dream. So many half-gods kneel to a mortal. This is unreasonable. The giant Buddha was also looking at Sun Hao at this moment. In his eyes, the light kept flowing and various secret techniques kept being used. After a while, the giant Buddha withdrew his gaze. Exhausted, Sun Hao seemed to be just a mortal. It seemed that he couldn't see through this person's strength. "Who are you?" the giant Buddha asked. "Everyone is welcome." However, Sun Hao didn't look at the giant Buddha at all. Everything that the giant Buddha did was ignored. Seeing this scene, the corner of the giant Buddha's mouth twitched slightly, and a touch of anger flashed away. "Dare to be so arrogant in the Buddha kingdom. Are you the first? I'd like to see how much ability you have." The giant Buddha muttered to himself. His mind moved, and he clenched his fist. However, he exhausted all his strength and couldn't clench it. "Who?" Suddenly, a gaze swept over. The giant Buddha's body trembled violently, and cold sweat flowed on his forehead. It was Sun Hao who swept his gaze. Boom! He walked towards the giant Buddha step by step. Every step was like stepping on the giant Buddha's chest, making his body tremble, and beads of sweat rolled down. "You, who?" The giant Buddha's voice trembled, and his huge body shrank uncontrollably. Soon, he turned into the size of a normal person and stood in front of Sun Hao. "Say, why did you attack my friend?" Sun Hao said. This sound made the giant Buddha's body tremble, and in his heart, he couldn't produce any resistance. "Great, my lord, that's because they disturbed the Buddha city." The giant Buddha said, "In this way, you will attack whoever disturbs the Buddha city?" Sun Hao asked. The giant Buddha's body trembled, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. He nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes. In this way, it didn't disturb the Buddha city? Sun Hao pointed to Dragon Fong and Long Yuejiao and asked. This finger was like the finger of hell. Dragon Fong and Long Yuejiao's body trembled, and their expressions were ugly. The giant Buddha's face was also pale. Senior, they are dragons. He dragons? So you're a lackey of the Dragon Clan? Sun Hao looked at the giant Buddha, his face full of killing intent. It seems that you don't have to live in this world. This sentence shocked the giant Buddha's face, and he waved his hand again and again. Senior, I can't die. Otherwise, the Buddha road can't be opened. The giant Buddhist said. The Buddha road can't be opened? Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth, stretched out his finger, and pointed at the Buddha road. Who? Wisps of golden silk flew out of Sun Hao's fingertips and instantly entered the Buddha road. Buzz! A sound shook from the depths of the Buddha road, whistling both ends. Originally, the inside of the Buddha road was dark, and the black silk kept flying. At this moment, it became a golden avenue, enough for 10 people to walk side by side. It looked like it was shining brightly. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's nerves. Everyone's eyes widened, showing an incredulous expression. That kind of stupor, that kind of shock, that kind of surprise. Words couldn't describe it. At this moment, the entire field was dead silent. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Sun Hao, as if looking at a Buddha. The giant Buddha stared blankly at this scene, opened his mouth, and didn't spit out a word. One finger to open the Buddha road? Who is he? The giant Buddha stared at Sun Hao, and for a while, he couldn't calm down at all. Chapter 447. Buddha. The Buddha's road is opened like this. Are my eyes playing tricks, or am I dreaming? Isn't this too fake? Fake, it must be fake. Doesn't opening the Buddha's road need to pray to Buddha sincerely? He is immortal. How can he have this ability? Everyone stared at Sun Hao blankly, and their faces changed. Surprise, awe, mystery, disbelief after a while. Go with the Buddha's road token. I have the Buddha's road token, Buddha's road, I'm coming. The Buddha's position belongs to me. One by one, they soared into the sky and went straight to the Buddha's road. There were even some who did not possess a Buddhist path medallion that rushed forward. Buzz, after rushing into the Buddha's road, the light flashed and disappeared. You don't have the Buddha's road token. What are you going to do? I feel like I can rush in. In an instant, this person rushed into the Buddha's road. Buzz, the light flashed and also disappeared. The Buddha's road didn't stop him at all. Such a scene strongly stimulated the eyes of others. People without a token can also go in. They muttered to themselves with a surprised face. You can go in without the Buddha's road token. What are you still doing, Rush? A sound exploded in the Buddha city. This sound was like a stone stirring up 1,000 layers of waves. The whole Buddha city was in an uproar. They soared into the sky one after another and went straight to the Buddha's road. Even if there were those who didn't believe it, after seeing someone go in, they rushed to the Buddha's road desperately. Buzz, the Buddha's road seemed to contain everything and did not stop anyone. The Buddha's position is mine. Ha! The divine cultivation method belongs to me. Everything is mine. There were tens of millions of people in the Buddha city. The way they soared into the sky was like locusts all over the sky, which made people's scalp numb. The giant Buddha looked at this scene, opened his mouth, and couldn't say a word. He withdrew his gaze and lowered his head, showing a look of despair on his face. One finger broke the Buddha's road, and thousands of restrictions were vulnerable in front of him. This kind of ability was simply unseen. Who the hell is he? It's over. The giant Buddha closed his eyes and waited for death secretly. However, after waiting for a while, he didn't see Sun Hao kill him. Looking up, his face changed slightly. They saw. Dong dong. Sun Hao pressed his chest, his face ugly. His heart suddenly throbbed, as if it was about to jump out of his throat. It was extremely uncomfortable. Come quickly! Come quickly! Shouts resounded in his mind. Sun Hao's face showed a painful expression. Young master. Everyone gathered around and looked at Sun Hao with a worried face. Good chance. The giant Buddha looked at Sun Hao, and a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. Buzz. He took a step forward, stirring up layers of ripples in the sky before disappearing. Yu Jiao, let's go. Dragon Fong used his divine sense to speak to Long Yuejiao. I don't need you to care. Long Yuejiao was the first to take a step forward. In a flash, she entered the path of Buddha and disappeared. Dragon Fong opened his mouth, and his face revealed a wisp of an ugly expression. Finally, she gritted her teeth and entered the path of Buddhism. I'm fine. Sun Hao waved his hand, indicating that he was fine. He looked at Su Yiling and others and glanced around. Then he asked, Miss Yiling, why didn't I see Miss Luyan? As soon as these words came out, a heavy color was written on everyone's face. The tears in Su Yiling's eyes fell unconsciously. Young master, My master, she was swallowed by the space turbulence. Su Yiling said. What? Sun Hao was shocked and asked. What the hell is going on? Young master, it's like this. Su Yiling opened her mouth and said one sentence at a time. It turned out that after they arrived at Elysium, they found that it was empty. On Mount Meru, they found a space transmission channel. This transmission channel just led to the Buddha Kingdom. In order to find out the truth, Luo Luyin rushed forward without hesitation. As a result, she didn't expect it to be a trap. Luo Luyin was swallowed by the space turbulence on the spot and disappeared. Later, with everyone's efforts, they finally found the entrance to the Buddha Kingdom on Mount Meru. So, they came to the Buddha Kingdom. Listening to this, Sun Hao frowned secretly. Why did everyone disappear on Mount Meru? Who was the one who created that spatial turbulence? Is Miss Luyin really gone? Thinking of the plump girl in purple, Sun Hao sighed secretly. Sun Hao looked at Goku and shouted, Goku! Young master! Goku came forward with a respectful look. Do you know what is the chance of survival after people are swallowed by the space turbulence? Sun Hao asked. Young master, it depends on the strength of the person. Goku said. My master is a first-grade demigod. Su Yiling said. First-grade demigod? Goku frowned slightly, then sighed secretly. In the space turbulence between planes like this, generally speaking, the God King's chance of survival is less than 10%. The Divine Lord only has a 20% chance of survival. Even the God Emperor only has a 50% chance of survival. As for those under the God King, they're basically dead. Goku said. As soon as these words came out, the faces of everyone in the Evil Suppression Alliance changed drastically. So, Leader Luo has no chance of survival? Is there a need to ask? Under the God King, there is no chance of survival. AI, the leader with such a good perception, left us like this. In the future, who will lead the Evil Suppression Alliance? Yes, the deputy leader also went to the source of sin. I don't know when he will return. Master, Su Yiling's tears fell from her eyes. Although she had known this result for a long time, she still couldn't control her emotions when she heard it at this moment. Goku, where will the demigod soul be sent after it disintegrates? Sun Hao asked. Young master, the demigod soul will only be sent to one place. That is, the Xianming River, where it will be reorganized. Goku said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded slightly. It seemed that as long as he went to the Xianming River to grab Luo Luoyin's soul, then resurrection was also possible. Miss Yiling, don't worry. Anyway, I am going to the Xianming River. When the time comes, we will find Miss Luoyin's soul fragment together. Presumably, resurrection is not a problem. Sun Hao said. Su Yiling's face showed a touch of emotion, and she bowed to Sun Hao. Young master, thank you. No need to be polite. Sun Hao smiled and nodded. Young master, can we go on this Buddhist road? Ning Mingji stepped forward and asked. Of course. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Go, you all go to the Buddhist road. Young master, what about you? Su Yiling asked. I'm not in a hurry. I'll talk about it later. You all come out. Sun Hao looked at the sky and shouted. Buzz. The sky trembled, and two figures walked out of the ripples and stood in front of Sun Hao.